Greetings, peace. Everybody gonna wait for some people to come in, and we will get going shortly. All right. What am I missing? All right. Let's get myself situated. All right. So before we begin, we'll as we're waiting for people to come in, as usual, I'll just go through some quick announcements. First and foremost, the upcoming ritual on the 31st. I've reached out pretty much up until this point. I think I've contacted and communicated with everybody but one person, and I will make an effort to contact him more than likely tomorrow. We still have about 10 more days. You can still make up your mind if you're going to come. We'll probably cut the invites off usually we do it a few days before the ritual. It's very important. If you are planning to attend the ritual, you need to call us and speak with myself briefly and just get some basic information you'll need to attend that ritual, which will be on Friday evening, August 31st at 8 p.m. So again, the email is in the description box. You could also, I'll give the email out, KHNUM19@gmail.com. Again, it's in the description box of all the videos. If you are interested in a spiritual consultation or reading, you can contact me for that. I'm back on normal schedule, pretty much 24 to 48 hours out. Prefer 48 hours, gives me more time to plan. Again, I want to make it clear to specify what type of, some people just are vague when they contact me. Specify again if it's a reading or a consultation. There is a difference between the two. Different type of readings that are offered, or I can do a reading with the Vudon Loha, with the Orisha, the spirits, or just a general reading. A consultation is just basically a kind of free for all. We could basically, go wherever it leads. You can pretty much dictate the flow of that consultation. Again, most people use a consultation to gather information. If you're just starting out on the path and you want information and direction on maybe how to set up altars or to get started, or you might be somebody advanced on the path and you want to talk maybe about some advanced topics that we can't obviously talk about one-on-one in the videos in the chat room. So just be clear and specify what it is you're contacting me for. Again, I do charge $52 to do that. And if you can't get to me in person, I usually do it Google Hangouts. Skype is a secondary option. I prefer a private Google Hangout call because it always seems the reception on the internet is much clearer and better. And it can be paid either via PayPal or over the phone prior to we start. And again, I ask 24, preferably 48 hours notice to do that. I kind of just go in order as I get them. So again, just be clear and specify. So we have that. We have the ritual. And also, before I forget to acknowledge, it just seems like these next 2 months, everybody I know is getting married. I got a good brother of mine in the Rosicrucian Lodge, Brother Gene, who is getting married next month. We got Brother Ravana Noon. He's going to be getting married in October, along with my cousin getting married in October. So I got to figure out how I'm going to attend 3 weddings in 2 months. That's going to be fun. But congratulations to all those brothers taking the plunge, as they say. But, it is what it is. You get up there in age, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes other people late bloomers than others. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the announcements. Again, I want to specify for the ritual, please make sure you contact us for an invite. I know people are asking again, why isn't the address on the fly? Well, that's why it says by invite only. Again, as I've mentioned in the past, this is something we've started a few months back to kind of keep everything organized and in sequence. It just prevents stragglers from showing up because we've done some stuff in the past. where we've had all the information on the flyers, address, location, the whole nine, and people just showed up without even letting us know they were showing up. So I just want to be clear. That's why we do that. It's nothing really deep or anything like that. It's to keep things organized and to prevent just people showing up that we don't have no clue that's coming. Because I want to make it clear, the ritual work, there's another reason why we did it. This is not just for, curious Georges, as I like to say. You understand? This is not something I'm just curious. Let me go see what it is. You're wasting your time if you're not, in sync or in line with what we're going to be doing. It's wise you don't attend. That's why when we have a brief discussion with you over the phone, we kind of, why we say when you request an invite, we contact you. We just have a brief discussion with you, kind of see where you're at on this path, and kind of give you, some basic information you're going to need, and make you familiar with kind of to an extent what we're going to do, and then to see if it's a fit for you or not. And again, that's just done to keep the energy right, to keep the vibe right, and it's just to keep away people that are just curious. I just want to come just to see what's going on. No, that's not that's not why we do this work. It's not a social club. It's not because we just feel like doing it because it's fun. We actually set out to do this work because we have a goal in mind, and that goal is to evolve spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally on all those levels. And it's to deal and work and do a lot of work on ourselves. Even as we're gathering collectively as a group, there's a lot of individual work that goes on in that process. And those that have come and attended the rituals, they're clear and they understand that. All right. So again, invite khnum19@gmail.com. And again, the email, I keep it in the description box of all the videos. So if you can't remember the email, no need to ask it. All you got to do is just go into any one of the videos that I have posted. You'll see it right in the description box. All right. So what I wanted to get into tonight, some stuff that has come up through emails and in some of the, the Saturday session classes, which we're getting ready to wind down the first session tomorrow. And we've kind of tackled this, but it still keeps coming up here and there. It comes up in some emails that I get throughout the course of a week. I still think to an extent with some individuals, the reason why I chose this topic specifically this evening, I think there's still the identification process of what this path is about. There's still a struggle with this among certain individuals. So I'm going to kind of address a few things and touch on that to clarify a few things and put some things in its perspective, because I think that's part of the problem. People still feeling the need to identify with something specifically. This creates a problem on a certain level. And I want to make this clear. You'll get that question, which usually is piggybacked by what should I or should I not be doing and where should I start? Now, the where should I start, I get that for somebody brand new. But I'm going to be honest with you. Some people that are still asking that question shouldn't be asking that question. All right. So I want to make that crystal clear. All right. Give me 1 second. I got to send a quick text. Pause that thought real quick. All right. Hold on 1 second. All right. Some people, as I said, that are still asking that question, just in my opinion and experience, shouldn't be asking that question. I'm sorry. I think subconsciously there's still that religious mindset there when you still feel the need to identify with something. Now, let me make this clear. The reason why I titled the video the vastness and the versatility of Black magic, all right, is because you can't be exclusive or specific to one thing, all right? You have to be very versatile. The word vast is simply what it means. It's very large, unlimited. It really doesn't have any boundaries. And that's why I titled the video, this particular video for this session here, is because there is no boundaries on this path. There is no one thing exclusive. And I think some people are not still comfortable in their skin because they still feel the need to identify. Let me give you an example. I see some people want to, exclusively be Luciferian, or some people want to exclusively be vampires. Some people want to, deal with voodoo, Apollo, or Ifa, or whatever it is. You understand? And that's all fine. But being a master of black magic or adept of the black arts and being a master is being able to have fluidity and work with all those things. Now, are there going to be some periods throughout the course of a year in your life where you gravitate to certain currents or spiritual paths more than others? Absolutely. You might find for months you're attracted to, work in vampirism. Then, your intuition and your inner being starts to connect you to another, spiritual path. That's what this path is about. So my answer to those people emailing and asking those questions, stop identifying with anything in specific, because if you are and you're trying to lay exclusive, being exclusive to something, then what that's also telling you subconsciously, you're still kind of trapped in religion, whether you're conscious of it or not. Now, I also want to say another thing as I gave some thought to this. I was thinking about this yesterday and today. I'm going to try my best. I don't even like really using the term left-hand path anymore, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay. And I'm going to try my best. Though technically what left-hand path means, yes, technically that's what it is. It's just, again, I want to make this clear. It's just a term that simply means, because technically, now this has nothing to do with you being dominant left-handed or right-handed, but technically they say the right side is the right side, get it? And the left side, we use left-hand path, the left-hand term, for something that's adverse, right? One of the names or the archetypes in religious folklore is Satan, the adversary, right? So adverse to the right hand or the right-hand path or a non-conformist. So it's just a term that describes somebody that's basically on this path of self-mastery, basically that's trying to tap into the isolated consciousness of set, etc. That's all it is. But unfortunately, the reality, and this is why I've been giving some thought to it the last few days, why I'm trying not to really incorporate that word. Will I say it here and there? I'm sure I will, because it's going to take time. The reason why I'm trying to kind of leave that in the dust is simply due to the fact it still gets associated with, European Satanism or modern day Satanism. And no matter how many times you explain it, and I've explained it many times over the years in all these videos, etc., unfortunately, it still gets connected to that. And as I've said before, that's not really what left-hand path is. And you've heard me say a bunch of times, Satanism, modern day Satanism, for the most part, I'm not saying everybody that practices it, in my experience and investigation and working with it in certain circles, has become very religious. Sometimes, in my opinion, more religious than Christians can be. And what I'm talking about, and I want to make it clear, this path that I discuss here on this channel has nothing to do with all that hail Satan and all that religious dogma, because a lot of that Satanism that's being labeled left-hand path, which isn't or is not, is basically, again, doctrine formulated just to combat or be in opposition to Christianity or Judaism or basic monotheism. So I want to make that clear. All right. So we're not talking about that. And that's my reasoning. Again, whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant. I'm not really concerned with that. So I'm going to try to eliminate that. And that's why, if you've seen in the last couple of months, I'm more focused on using the words Heka and, black adept, black magic, black magician, because when you hear black magic, it connects you to the roots of where it originally came from, Egypt and Africa. People automatically hear voodoo, and they automatically, though it might be negative, but that's good. I'm glad. Let them be spooked out and scared about it. It automatically connects you with that true black magic. You understand? And I want to make that clear. So that's my reasoning for it, because, again, no matter how many times you say left-hand path, people are still associating it with Euro-Satanism, and it has nothing. The real left-hand path, those that have done their research know it has its origin in ancient Egypt, right? We know it started in wherever you want to, Africa. Even when you go to what we call, African witchcraft and what they're calling voodoo today, a lot of these sciences that predate, all of these traditions and spiritual paths that are here now. Even, as I said, vampirism has its origin in ancient Egypt. We've gone over that a bunch of times, real vampirism. So, we can incorporate all those paths because it's part of being an adept of the black art, be it Luciferianism, be it vampirism, be it Babylonian magic, if that's something you're interested in, be it voodoo and hoodoo, which is a great system to incorporate into your spiritual path, which is, we've been talking about a lot of that the last several weeks. And actually the ritual that's coming up at the end of the month, Papa Legba, I'm going to discuss a little bit of that. I'm kind of going to be jumping around. It's kind of going to be vast. I'm going to get into a little of that I'm going to give people a little idea about the ritual. We're going to talk a little bit about Dambala we do and how that all ties in. Papa Legba, I got a little small amount of material planned. I ain't going to do too much reading or excerpts this evening. Kind of just going to, free flow and build a little bit. So I just want to make that clear and address that. I've been talking a lot over the last couple of weeks because I think it was not last video. It might have been the video or two before. I can't remember. And again, peace and greetings to everybody in the room if I haven't greeted you. And as soon as I'm done, again, I'll go through the chat room. So you can type your questions in. Even if you type it earlier, I will get to your question when I go through the chat. So, you can start formulating your questions, your comments. You can start typing them in. We've been talking a lot about how to be a master, whether, male or female, he or she being a master on this path is being able to incorporate all of these systems, but here's the key though, adding your unique touch. Now, obviously, as I said a few weeks ago, we know a lot of people have come from some type of Afrocentric, whether it's Kemetic or whatever background, not all. I mean, it doesn't matter, what walk of life you come from. Anybody has the ability to practice on this path. That's entirely up to the individual and the type of work that they put in. So it's all about putting work in. If you're not putting no work in, and you just got the exterior things down packed, you look the part, you talk the part, but you don't have any body of work to produce and support what you claim. So this is just about simply doing the work, regardless of what your background is, your ethnicity, etc. That's irrelevant. That's another question that come up. Can anybody, practice this path? Absolutely. You understand? And it's the effort and the energy you put in is what you get out. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people that have come from an Ifa background, a lot of people that have come from a, Santeria/Ifa background, Kemetic consciousness, etc. They still are struggling to make that transition and incorporate it in this path. I'm starting to see that because what's blocking them or what's causing some issues is the traditional stuff, right? Now, first and foremost, you being an adept of the black arts, right? It is your job to make those adjustments, fine tunings, and fit your work and how you're going to utilize whatever spiritual system you're working with to fit your personal work. So what I'm trying to say is we have to get out of this mindset that there's a certain exclusive way or one way to do anything. That's the biggest illusion and bullshit. Now, just because you might run into somebody else that might be working with something similar than you are, that they may not be doing it the same exact way, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It may be wrong for you, but it might be a productive path as far as the methodology and how they're working it for them. That's what we got to start to understand. So somebody who's really mastering that concept, for an example, can take voodoo and hoodoo, for an example, and adjust and eliminate certain aspects that might be religious or too traditional and adjust it to their path, right? So for an example, what the ritual, and we could cross-reference this, and I'm going to show you how we can cross-reference and show you how vast this spiritual system is. And we can cross-reference it into other cultures and spiritual systems. For an example, the basics, to give you an idea, the gist of the ritual that we will be doing on the 31st and show you how we can kind of, tie that in and explain it. All right. As you know, we deal with Papa Legba as being, he has the key. He keeps those pathways flowing. He's the one that guides, people on this realm and makes that connection from the physical realm to the spiritual realm. I don't even like to really call it the realm of the dead because it's really the realm of eternal living. He can open and close those gates. He has the final say who can start and begin and communicate, etc. And this is why he is always propitated first and always propitated closing. But I'm going to show you the connection. This is dealing with opening roadways and paths. You can connect this to La Santa Muerte, the Holy Death. You can also connect this to Anpu, who also is that bridge, or again, you can connect it to Yanta or Oya, right? We can go to all these coaches and cross-reference the barons also. We can cross-reference it to all. This is why I'm saying you have to be fluid on this path. You can't get stuck in one thing. You have to be able to know how to utilize them, because look at it this way. This is the best way to look at it. If we understand that they are energy, right? Or they embody the same type of energy, just understanding these cultures, the attributes and the titles were given according to the culture it was adopted. But you're dealing with the same type of energy. Just because it's got a different name, the energy for the most part has the same vibration and frequency and connects to the same aspect that you're trying to work with. So let me give you an example to clear up. So we'll focus briefly with Papa Legba. So watch this. We'll use the concept of Dambella Widu and Papa Legba. And I'm going to go through that real briefly. And you tell me, I want people to basically just get the concept in their mind, what they can automatically connect it with something else they've read or studied, to show you. This is to help people get over that hump. Well, how do I connect it? Or how do I remove some of the quote unquote man-made rules and regulations and stipulations and stigmas that were put on it? Well, here's how you do it. So let me show you. All right. So real quick, I'm going to go into the Voodoo Hoodoo Spell Book by Denise Alvarado. And I recommend this book for anybody that really wants to practice this spiritual path. A great book. Again, is there some religious stuff in here? Absolutely. But again, you just eliminate and, take what you need and leave the rest. All right. So let's get two aspects first of, and we're going to connect the Damballa Widu to Papa Legba, 7 African powers, etc. All right. Well, first and foremost, right, to confirm one thing briefly that I wanted to connect in here. As I said, even if it's any left-hand path system, you can go into demonic integration. You have the core root of the ancestral veneration or acknowledging the ancestors, right? So here's a short paragraph on page 23 of this book. It's the same principle here in Voodoo and Hoodoo as you will see in demonic integration, dealing with the black arts, etc. It says anyone who wishes to develop a voodoo spiritual practice should create an ancestral altar first, right? The altar can honor your biological ancestors, the universal archetype ancestors, or both. Universal archetype ancestors will be specific spirit guides that through your work have been revealed to you. Some people have Arab spirits or Sufi spirits, right? They come through Native American or Indian spirits, Congo spirits, right? So this is what this is talking about, right? And any and all connection to the spirit world is depending upon the strength of your ancestral connection, right? So you can't negate the fact you're going to see this synchronized in a lot of spiritual systems. Vampirism is very heavy on ancestral acknowledgement and bloodline. You understand? You can't escape from that. So I'm saying if I'm looking at this and I'm on this path and I'm working, I'm saying, wait a minute. I see the ancestral veneration. It's in vampirism. It's in Luciferian magic. It's in voodoo, right? I see it. There's some level of acknowledgement that I see it. Now, is it going to be exactly the same way? No. But for the most part, there's that core foundation of acknowledge it on some level. Now, the methodology might vary. That's about it. So I first and foremost, anybody that knows me and has worked with me, whether it's openly or whether it's been in private, whether it's been through consultation sessions, whatever, I always recommend, and you probably one of the first questions I ask you, do you have anything set up for your ancestrals, altars or ancestors? And believe it or not, lots say no. And people don't understand. That's the foundation of your work. It's like building a house. You need the foundation. You can't put the roof on first without laying the floor down. And having that, and it doesn't matter how you decide how you want to venerate or acknowledge your ancestors. You pick whatever methodology. If you want to use an African tradition, that's fine. If you want to use a vampiric tradition, that's fine. If you want to use something like out of the Black Ship book by Malthus that's geared towards demonic integration, then that's fine. What I'm trying to say is, and it could be very extravagant or it could be something very simple. That's entirely up to you. You will find that your work will be more solid and consistent. You will find your results will be much more productive. Because remember, when you're removing the element of spookism, right, from deity, right? If we accept, first and foremost on this path, that the black adept, he or she, who's at the center of the core of their path and practice is God, then it emanates from you. It starts with you. The first reality is you know you're real, you exist. And as far back as you can confirm, going from your parents to your grandparents, etc., your bloodline is what creates your reality of existence, right? And as I said before, this was, for an example, in ancient Egypt, what they termed eternal life. Keeping the bloodline going and passing down this knowledge from bloodline to bloodline, generation to generation. And that's what the concept of eternal life and removing the spookism out of deity and being God actually represented or meant. This is what we have to incorporate, that same methodology. I'm not saying we got to do it the same exact way, but we have to be able to incorporate that same spiritual system so we can remove from the psyche this spook God concept. And this is what I'm saying is the root of the problem where some people struggle with, whether you want to call it the path of immortality or the path of becoming God, right? But all right, that's the ancestral thing. Let's go back real quick. You're going to see two names. You're going to see in Haitian voodoo, you'll see the name Dambala Widu. You'll also see it in voodoo hoodoo. But you also see a concept called La Grande Zombie, right? Which is another title or attribute in the voodoo hoodoo aspect of voodoo, right? But let's get a little breakdown on this. La Grande Zombie, also called Dambala Widu, is the major serpent spirit of worship among New Orleans voodooists. In New Orleans voodoo, snakes are not seen as symbols of evil, as in the story of Adam and Eve. Snakes are considered to be holders of intuitive knowledge. Knowing that which cannot be spoken, women often dance with serpents to represent the spiritual balance between the genders. Voodoo rituals in New Orleans almost always include a snake dance to celebrate the link to the ancient knowledge. So we see a lot of symbolism here, right? You hear Alexa's going crazy. She's catching voodoo spirits over there. My Alexa, quiet. See what I'm saying? That was Grande Zombie. Let me stop. You heard it. It's going off. I didn't even command it. It was going off. All right. The origin of La Grande Zombie can be traced to the serpent deity Nzambi from Wida in Africa, according to the Bantu creation story. Nzambi is the creator of God. Now, here's the concept. Now, you tell me what culture you can connect this to. So if I'm reading this, now I'm going to give you what Nzambi is symbolic of and how you should perceive that and put it into your mind when you're doing your performative utterance and you're doing your invocation and your ritualistic work. Here's the definition explanation. And I'm going to pause for a minute after, and I want people to think in their mind, who does that sound or what does that sound familiar like in another spiritual system, right? It says, Nzambi exists in everything and controls the universe through his appointed spirits. In the beginning, only Nzambi existed. When he was ready to create, millions and millions of pieces of matter swirled around him. Counterclockwise, notice the counterclockwise, right? On his path, when we do ritualistic work, when we're charging up our chalices, when we're working, casting the Hermetic circles, everything is always counterclockwise. Remember, just like Semitic languages were always written right to left, we've been programmed to do everything in reverse. That creates a certain conditioning on the mind. We'll get into that in a minute. All right. It goes on to say, Nzambi then created movement, and the matter that he had created began to change and drift apart. So he decided to create a being that could traverse the universe and mediate between matter and space. Mediate between matter, the physical, and space, the spiritual, right? Watch what comes up now. Now, Nzambi focused on a fixed point and gave life to a being who was simultaneously man and woman, right? a manifestation of the nature of the zombie called Eshu aloe vera, right? So we're going to now briefly describe the differences between Eshu and Legba. So this is an aspect of this Legba archetype. So you'll find in voodoo rituals, it's recommended before you begin to always do some form of acknowledgement of Dambala we do. And that can simply be done by, preparing a simple white candle and anointing it with oil and doing some type of invocation for Dambala we do before you do any ritualistic work. Because what that does is take it back to this primordial energy in your psyche. So you're going back to the point of origin where this energy, quote unquote, originates, which really is in the psyche of the subconscious mind. So one would, for an example, invoke Dambala we do and with a simple invocation and light the white candle, whatever, etc. Or you can create some type of methodology that's similar. And then we would go into accessing Papa Legba, because now we've connected to the, all is mental is all. We connected to those multiverses that exist in our mind, all those points of origins of existence in our mind, right? And we have to access the energy of Papa Legba to clear and open those paths. So Papa Legba would follow right after that, right? So we see from this symbolic story in this culture, this is the process, right? Then watch, it goes on to say, the Grandi zombie is the temple snake, the defining element of New Orleans voodoo and the lower of great stature. The Grandi zombie of New Orleans voodoo is best not confused with the zombie of Haitian voodoo, which has been described as ritually an animated corpse. So let's make sure we understand the difference between the two, right? Now, let me flip over here to show you how this is all connected. So we see Dambala we do, we see this aspect of Eshu / Papa Legba. Now, even though they're very similar in nature, they're a little bit different. We're going to explain, because this is the next question that comes up. Are they the same? And the answer is yes and no, as far as Papa Legba, Legba, and Eshu. Let's understand the difference between this. Very important. All right. I got two sections I marked here. Bear with me. Hold on. Well, let's read this part now. The last section with Dambala we do is depicted as a serpent god and is closely associated with snakes. Dambala is the wise and loving father of all the Loas, along with his wife Aida Widu. Is the Loa of creation. One of the most important popular of the Loas, he's both a member of the Rada family and a root Loa. Dambala's color is white, and his offerings are an egg on the mound of flour. When he manifests in ritual, he does not speak, but only hisses like a snake, right? So that's the main aspect that you see connected with the zombie aspect, right? Now, how does this all connect to a Legba? Let's look at that real quick. Hold on. I got two sections here I kind of wanted to go through, and that was pretty much it. That's the one there. Hold on. Did I mark the other one? Yes, I did. Hold on. Just bear with me. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's talk about Eshu and then go into Papa Legba real quick. Eshu is one of the most well-known spirits of the Yoruba religion and related African-derived traditions. Eshu is a powerful spirit who functions as divine messenger and gatekeeper to the spirit world. So you can see why there's many similarities between the two, right? He sits at the crossroads, offering choices and possibilities to humankind. Eshu represents balance, day and night, old age, youth, black and white, construction, and deconstruction, right? Which is something we deal with frequently, dealing with black magic and the black arts. Deconstruction and the deconstruction and reconstruction process is on yourself. Your goal on this path is to, and this is why you can work with the energy of Papa Legba, your goal is to deconstruct those things about you that is stunting your growth, that is blocking you, that is preventing you from evolving, right? That's one of the reasons of working with the gatekeeper, because this gatekeeper holds the key to clearing those paths and obstructions and can connect you to where you need to be connected, right? Okay, so there goes, he compasses male sexuality, strength, and fertility, and is privy to the mysteries of life and death. Eshu is the lord of chaos and trickery, right? See a lot of synchronizations here with Set, right? And the keeper of life force energy, Ashe. Nothing can be accomplished in the human world or the spirit world without his permission. He is a translator and bridge between humans and the natural world, the sacred and the profane. Every living thing has a personal issue. All right. So stop looking for one quote unquote aspect of Eshu, let's say in some worship deity form, which I still see some people struggling with. Look for the aspect of that Eshu energy in everything. That's more of a powerful thing. That deals with the omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient aspect of what we're calling this energy, quote unquote, of the creator or God, if you want to use that term, right? Eshu goes by many different names among the African-derived religions. For example, he is known as Eshu in the Orisi-Ife system of Yoruba, as well as Candomblé, Santeria, and Lukumi religions. He is often likened to Legba and Haitian voodoo, and New Orleans voodoo, or Papa Legba. In Cuba, he is likened to Ilegua, and in West Africa, he is known as Eshu. In Palo Mayembe, he is known as Lucero, right? I'm not planning on doing something on that too, the spirits of Palo Mayembe. That's going to be coming up soon. However, these spirits are not the same entity. Eshu is sometimes associated with the Catholic saints Anthony and St. Michael. In the Afro-Brazilian tradition, commonly referred to as Umbanda, Eshus are considered a family of spirit deities. It is believed that Eshus are the spirits of people who were considered to be either frightening, very well educated, or experts in a given field when they were alive, right? Eshu functions as a door opener. He can remove obstacles and open doorways to new opportunities. A divine messenger, Eshu sees all and is all-knowing. He knows good and evil and can be equally cruel and generous. However, his actions are always justified and logical, never random. He has a very close relationship to the Orisha of divination, Orula or Orun Mila, or Orun Mila, right? That's no different than when we're talking about in the Voodoo or Voodoo pantheon of Dambala we do, right? Because of what Orun Mila represents in the Ifa tradition. So what you're seeing is 3 to 4 different systems, but similarities with the energy. So when you remove the traditional aspect of it, that you're not worshiping something, you're trying to aspect the psyche of your mind that creates that Eshu energy or that Papa Legba energy to clear the paths for you. You understand? So let's continue, and then we're gonna briefly finish with Papa Legba, right? He is the master of the Buzios, a form of divination that or Kawi shells. At the same time, Eshu does not need an oracle to be able to foretell the future. As a master magician, notice the word magician, Eshu is knowledgeable and capable of doing black or white magic, meaning he can, and this is why, again, we are working with, Papa Legba at the end of this month, because Papa Legba deals with intense forms of powerful black magic, as well as lighter or fluffier magic if need be, because he knows all formulas and spells. In fact, his spells and talismans are so powerful that it is said that they are impossible to destroy. He can be invoked to do manipulative magic, but only by those foolhardily enough to try. And that basically means when you're working that type of magic, again, if you're doing it just out of a personal vendetta, or you're doing it just out of spite, it doesn't work. Trust me when I tell you that. You must be justified in your cause for that. And most importantly, when you are justified in your cause, not have any remorse or regret for doing it. That deals with a whole nother principle. All right, so that's Eshu. Now, we see the similarities with voodoo, hoodoo. We see it with Ifa and Santeria. We see how they can kind of get connected. Now, this is where I see some people get a little bit lost because they trying to figure out how can they bridge the gap. And I'm trying to show you how to bridge the gap. It's real simple. All right. Briefly, Papa Legba, right? Who can be also linked to Ilegua, Ilegba, Liba, Alaba, and Labas, right? In Haitian voodoo, as well as New Orleans voodoo, Papa Legba is the intermediary between the spirits and humanity. He is the most important Loa because He stands at the spiritual crossroads and grants or denies permission to speak with the spirits of the Gene. In New Orleans, the gates of the Gene are considered to be the portal to the afterworld. All right, this is some traditional stuff. Legba is believed to speak all human languages. He is always the first and last spirit invoked in any ceremony because his permission is needed for any communication between humans and the Loas. And he opens and closes the gates to the spirit world. Legba is petitioned to remove obstacles, opens the doors to opportunities. Okay, then there's that similarity again, you see, right? In Yoruba, Legba is mostly associated with Papa Legba because both deities share the role of God of the crossroads, right? Legba also shares similarities to Orunmila, the Orisha of prophecy who taught mankind how to use the mighty oracle, Ifa. Legba, Legba and Eshu are similar, but they are not the same spirits, okay? Papa Legba usually appears as an old man on a crutch or with a cane, wearing a broad-brimmed straw hat and smoking a pipe or sprinkling water. The dog and rooster are sacred to him because of his position as gatekeeper, all right, between the worlds of the living and between the worlds of the living and the mysteries of it, right? All right, so that gives you the gist. Again, I'm not going to kind of go through the whole thing, but I went through that so you can see how you had three systems that were similar but yet very different. So how you bridge the gap and get over it, just to elaborate a little further on some of the things I was talking about earlier to do that, is focus again. It doesn't matter if you're working with the Egyptian archetype aspect of it, Luciferianism, or this, as long as you understand what the energy represents. That's the key, because once you have a full understanding of that, then you are able to adjust, fit, and put it in sequence with whatever type of work you're trying to do. That's the difference. So to reiterate what I was saying in the beginning of the video, and that's, again, the reason why I titled it that, was the vastness and versatility of this path. You can't just be exclusive to one thing. And I find that people that need to identify with one thing are still stuck in that mind state of religion. Now, they might say on the surface they're not, but when you got to make a statement and a claim that you're going to be exclusively this, or you're exclusively this or that, you still need to go within here. Something's not functioning right, which also led me to my second point, if you weren't here earlier. And that's why I want to eliminate using certain titles, especially like left-hand path, because of what it connects with, unfortunately, even though what it means is right and correct in definition, because it's adverse, it means non-conformist, but unfortunately it still gets identified with these Euro-Satanist path, which real left-hand path has nothing to do with that. So if, for a lack of a better word, you need some type of attribute or title to identify with, unfortunately, you are an adept of the black arts. You are a black magician, because that frees you from identifying with one specific path. Because when you're working the black arts, the dark arts, if you want to call yourself a dark sorcerer, whatever you want to call yourself, I don't care what you want to call yourself, but if you need a title, if it makes you feel comfortable, you understand, refer to yourself as that, because it leaves the door open. It leaves the Papa Legba energy open to function and work through you fluidly. Because if Papa Legba deals with a multitude of paths, all right, doesn't say one, doesn't say Papa Legba is going to open up one path for you and connect you to one specific thing. Papa Legba has the gate and the key. That's why if you see, sometimes you'll see his sigil. I actually have one. I'm not wearing it now, but I've worn it before. He has a sigil that it's shaped like a key with his sigil in the middle of it. He is the gatekeeper. He has the keys to open those gates to those pathways and roadways. So when we're working with Papa Legba as adepts of the black arts, we're trying to open all of our paths. We're trying to keep it vast and versatile so we can learn and grow, because we don't want to be stuck in one particular path. That was the reasoning for coming on this path in the first place, because you were trying to get out of that methodology, that way of thinking, that way of practice. So, and again, like I said in the beginning, are there going to be periods or times throughout the course of a year throughout the course of your life where you gravitate towards one system for a period of time more than others? Absolutely. But when you're just stuck there and you're there and you're not, you're not evolving, then it becomes a problem. Because remember, when we strip away all the titles, remember, these are just tangible things that connect us to connect with these archetypes, these spirits, if you want to call them the daemon, the higher self. We're connecting with certain aspects of the energy. So in nature, it all vibrates on the same frequency and same type of energy. It just is given different titles and different spiritual systems based on the culture and the language. So to lock out of your mind, how do I connect the two? We're removing the tradition. When you really understand in your mind, okay, if I'm working with Papa Legba, I need to have that same energy approach as far as what it represents if I'm working with Ampu or Anubis, or if I'm trying to connect with an aspect of the Holy Death, because that's another strong road clearing deity. So these are things that are very important to be able to put into perspective in here, because you're never going to be able, nobody's going to be able to ever sit you down and clarify this to get you to understand it unless you are able to apply it to yourself, and most importantly, apply it to your personal work. And that's the key right there. Because again, as I said before in the beginning, we don't do these collective rituals just for the fuck of it, just for the fun of it, to do it. You understand? There's a purpose, there's a goal. And everything you set out to do on this path should have a purpose or a goal. If you're just doing random shit just to be doing it, for whatever reason you're doing it, that shit is crazy. Okay, that's basically what religious people do. They just, how many religious people do you know that are just caught in the every day and week routine of just going to church and just doing shit because it's something that they're supposed to do? And you don't want to take on that energy on this path. Don't get yourself in a rhythm where you're just doing the same shit over and over. I'll make this clear. You're never supposed to be comfortable on this path. Don't get it twisted. When I mean comfortable, I'm not talking about, uncomfortable in the sense of in extreme pain, but I'm saying you're always supposed to be sharp and on your toes. You should never feel complacent type of comfortable. Once you're getting too comfortable and you're getting in a everyday boring routine of doing shit, then you need to challenge yourself. So always look for new ways to explore, experiment, and challenge yourself. Okay, because if you're getting too comfortable, then something is wrong. And that's the beauty of this path. And that's why it's vast and it's versatile, because there's no limits. You can shit. I'm telling you. All right, we mentioned for an example. Let me give you another example. A good ritualistic practice that you can create on your own. I'm not going to read anything from anywhere to tell you how to do it. I'm going to throw a concept out there. We've talked about in the past deconstruction and reconstruction. All right, let me give you an example. Here's something you can do. Take a fluffy ritual, right? I might have mentioned this briefly in the past. Take a rite from a fluffy religion or spiritual system. Let's just say the Catholic Mass, or let's say some spiritual system in the Kabbalah, right? Whatever, something that might be fluffy, or some form of lighter or higher magic, right? Or some type of pagan equinox festival. Deconstruct it, destroy it, and re-put it together, but add the elements of black magic to it from whatever spiritual system. So trust me when I say you do this. This is what real deconstruction is, reconstruction is about. And it's the same way you're supposed to work on yourself. Take certain things about yourself that you might be doing for years that you thought were right. I don't care if it's certain habits. I don't care if it's daily routines, whatever it might be. And deconstruct the shit out of them, destroy them completely, and now adjust it to this new way of thinking, new mentality. Start first with doing it with something physical, as far as, like I said, some type of religion or spiritual system, maybe that you belong to growing up. Some type of service you might have attended, or religious, spiritual gathering, whatever. Take it and adjust, deconstruct it, and then reconstruct it with the elements of black magic. How powerful that would be on your psyche, I can't even put into words, right? And then you'll be able to transition that physical ritualistic work, and you'll be able to translate it mentally and spiritual to yourself. You'll start to be able to identify how that process needs to be applied to yourself, right? This is what this path is about. So again, when I'm getting these questions on, what do you call yourself? Really, you can't put a title on truth, right? When you raise yourself up to the realization of your personal truth, there is no title for that. You understand? Now, I know we might need certain titles in certain situations to help us identify and grasp things, but that's the mortality aspect. That's the human weak mortality side of ourselves. I'm personally a matter of fact where I don't really need that point. It don't mean you're not going to wear symbols and implements that are connected to these spiritual systems. Of course, you're going to wear sigils and beads or amulets and charms because they symbolize and unlock certain parts of your psyche. There's symbols that project certain levels of consciousness that activate those portions of your psyche. So the symbols are the vessels just used to make the connection strong. Now, are they 100% needed? Absolutely not. Because as long as you have this, you have the ability to do it. But remember, imagery is one of the key ingredients in black magic. So we know that imagery is one of the most important things. So that imagery just enhances the energy that's already there. So I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with wearing the sigils, the symbols of these occult spiritual systems. But what I'm trying to say is we are a representation. All of that resides within us. The real black magician / black adept, he or she is able to be versatile and fluid. So I'm not going to make a claim to be any one thing in specific. Do I like certain things more than others? Most definitely. I love, the voodoo Congo aspect of ritualistic work. But I also have an affection for vampirism because it has a strong link to ancestral aspects and most of all, demonic integration. I mean, list goes on and on. So the point being is that's how you steer clear of falling into that box, that trap, that category. Because as I've mentioned this many times before over the years, what most people try to do, not only to themselves, but to make others feel comfortable, because that individual, most people are not comfortable if they can't categorize and classify you. So let me give you an example. You run into a person that may be religious or has some type of belief in God, right? We've all gotten this question, are you Christian? Do you believe in God? We all at one point or another, and probably could have been recently, have gotten that question because they sense a certain thing about you, right? So they don't feel comfortable because they want you to say, yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hebrew. Because see, when you say you're a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew, then it's easy for them to identify and classify you and put you in a category. When you say something neutral, now I don't recommend you go around, let me make this shit clear, all right? I don't recommend you go around and say, I'm an adept of the black arts, I'm a dark magician. I don't recommend you do that. So that's not what I'm saying. I just tend to say purple. I tend to just throw some neutral shit at them that pisses them off even more. I say, no, I'm spiritual. I'm in tune spiritual. What do you mean? Well, I'm in tune with the forces of nature, creation, myself. I'm a spiritual person. Keep it basic. That still makes them feel uncomfortable because they can't put you in a religious box. They want to identify you. So what do you mean when you say that? And then they'll go from that to, are you Buddhist? Right? They'll leave the physical religions and then they'll start going to the lighter, fluffier religions like Buddhism and Hinduism and other forms. Oh, no, I'm not a Buddhist. But what do you mean? I'm a spiritual person. Take it for what you want. You should leave that person slightly uncomfortable because then it should question how they define themselves and their place in things. And it's hard for religious people to do that because they can't think outside a person, place, or thing. Because everything in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism is defined by a person, a place, or a thing. We have, as adepts of the black arts and black magicians, we have removed ourselves from that three-dimensional equation. We vibrate outside of person, place, and thing. Our work is geared to travel beyond person, place, and thing. Even if it's traveling the astral realm through vampirism, right? We're releasing ourselves from the bondage of mortality, dealing with person, place, and thing. So if you still feel there's need to worship something outside of yourself, then you're confounded to that realm or that abode of existence up in here. So hopefully that sheds a little light on that. And when I say light, intellect. Peace, Brother Jack. All right, so let's go through some questions and some comments. I think it was about an hour of touching on that subject. I think you get the point. And for those couple of people that did send emails in reference to that, and let me mention this, I said this before, it's hard for me to go through all the emails. There's still some, those for the important ones, not that one is more important than the other, but stuff like the rituals and stuff, I will get back to those immediately. It's hard for me. Somebody will email me long, drawn out emails. I don't have time. Unfortunately, it's not personal. That's why it's best to come tune into these sessions. Some I will take time. I can't get to them all. That's why it's best to tune into these sessions. And I try to address a lot of the email questions that I get in these sessions. So this way I don't have to sit down and address maybe some people that have asked similar questions. I can kind of tie them in and link them in one session. So it saves me time and you get your questions addressed. Now, if it's something really that can't be addressed here, yeah, shoot me an email and I try my best to dialogue, time permitting. So for the ones that did send emails for those type of questions, hopefully that pushes you in the right direction. Stop. And there's a video I would refer you to. I did a couple of months ago. Stop classifying yourself. Stop putting titles. And it kind of gets into a little bit about what I'm talking about tonight. I would recommend you go find that video in the archive. That'll kind of also piggyback off of this because it's kind of connecting the two. And that's kind of where you want to go. All right. So let's go up to the top. I'm going to go to the very beginning of the chat and address your comments and your questions. I'm going to avoid your personal dialogue between each other. I'm going to skip that. All right. Antoine Graham, greetings, brother. Good to see you here. My V, happy Friday to you too. And I know My V is going to be coming to the ritual at the end of the month, so we look forward to seeing her there. Ishmael El Bay, greetings. Oni, what's up, Oni? Got to give you a buzz, man, see how everything is going with the work that you got to do. But I give you a buzz tomorrow at some point for sure. So peace to you. Say hello to Brooklyn for me. I'll be back there in a couple months. Definitely going to be back in a couple months. El Sheba Sekmet, I think I already said greetings. She said something up there. Greetings. Bafalicious Yummy, greetings. Didn't see you here. Peace. All right, Daniel Sullivan. All right, so here's Daniel Sullivan's got a question in here, a comment. There are individuals who teach that once you choose a path, you must stick to that path because the energies will not be compatible and you will have a mess. Please share your thoughts on this. That's an excellent question, Danielle. And it kind of connects to everything that we're talking about tonight. So let's start with that. Excellent question. You are correct. There are plenty of people that make that statement. That's because most of them don't know how to be versatile and fluid. Now, on this path, you can work with a multitude of paths as long, and again, I don't know how long you've been tuning in or listening to the videos. As long as you group the energies that are similar together, you're keeping things in sequence. That's why, as I was showing tonight, and I know we were focusing on roadway and pathway deities. For an example, if you're working with the Egyptian system of Ampu, if you're working with Papa Legba and Voodoo, Legba and the Orishi pantheon, if you're working with the Holy Death, if you're working with a road clearing deity in, say, the Viking Norse pantheon, they have their crossroad deity. You can work with all those systems as long as you keep the similar type of consciousness and energy that it represents. You stay with that concept. Now, you don't want to make energies where, per se, you're doing work with, let's say, Set, and you're trying to work that with, let's say, an aspect of something lighter like Geb. You understand? Even though you can connect them when you're working with, in what they call in ancient Egypt, the triad of light and darkness, but there's still the same concept of working with similar-like energies, vibration, and frequencies. So you will have a mess if you mix energies that are not compatible. So in that sense, That is correct. That's why I said the answer to the question is yes and no, because in that sense, it is correct. That's in any spiritual system. But the reason why they will say not to do it is because they've been programmed, conditioned, and disciplined. Well, first and foremost, they're dealing with lighter systems of spirituality. None of those spiritual systems most of them don't deal with, going into the inner depths of your subconscious mind, the deep dark abyss of your subconscious mind, addressing your bullshit, etc. That's step one on this path. Bringing out, you must face all of those things that you fear in order to progress and bypass these obstacles that we're talking about. Legba or Papa Legba is a great archetype to help and assist in that. The ritualistic work that we're going to do at the end of the month is for that purpose. We are going to bring those obstacles to the surface that are blocking you. And each one is going to have their own experience at that ritual. We will bring the spirit of Papa Legba down, and Papa Legba will deal with it accordingly. And each individual will have their own awareness, if you want to use the word revelation, that's a religious word, but each individual will come to a certain awareness of what they need to deal with. So a perfect example. And as I said earlier, Papa Legba deals with a multitude of paths, not just one, right? And remember, it used that term in the aspect of Eshu. Look for the Eshu energy in everything that you deal with. So when you're looking at something, what are the possibilities is what it's saying. No matter how grim it might look, good or bad in your estimation, but what are the possibilities? Because remember, that's one of the key aspects that Legba, Eshu, they all have a similarity in dealing with the possibilities and the pathways and the roadways to any situation, right? So, excuse me, that's my thoughts on that. So hopefully, Danielle, that helps you and pushes you in the right direction. And I would say this to Danielle or anybody that's on this path. Don't let nobody dictate to you what you can and cannot do. And I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying you will encounter some people with that mindset. They're going to tell you what you can and cannot do. Then when you ask them, what are you basing that on? Most of them are basing that on something that they were taught or told by someone else, who was told by someone else, who was told by someone else, which in essence was basically a bunch of mortals that sat around and made rules and restrictions so they can stay in power. That's all it is. So when you remember, as a practitioner on this path, you remove yourself from that. That's what it means to be a nonconformist. That's what it means to be connected to the isolated consciousness of who we call the archetype Set. Set is a self-thinker. Set cannot be dictated to. Set cannot be told what and what not to do, what to dress and what not to wear, what to eat and not to eat, who to associate with and not associate with. The isolated consciousness or aspect of Set tells an individual, I'm going to explore, experiment for myself, and come to the conclusion of the decision for myself what I should and should not eat based on knowledge of self. Remember that, again, I refer back to that class on the steads and rewards of the left-hand path. What's the first and greatest reward? Having knowledge of self, right? What's inscribed above the temple of Heliopolis, right? A famous saying you'll see in the Rosicrucian degrees, right? Know thyself and thou shalt know the gods, right? That's a very famous alchemical phrase. If you don't know yourself, you can't know the gods, because your behavior, your characteristics, your personality, the things you do, you get some of these, or most of these characteristics, I should say, from these deities. So now when you're able to identify them in detail, you'll know how to aspect that aspect of your psyche that's in relation to that particular archetype, deity, spirit, whatever you want to call it. You'll be able to recognize the ritual of Papa Legba that we will do at the end of the month will bring that awareness. Trust me when I tell you. And everybody will have their own, even though we're doing a collective group ritual, but when them drums start going and them spirits start coming down and everybody goes into their own personal, quote unquote, universe, bubble, whatever you want to call it, they're going to have their own awareness, their own revelation. We will ensure that because we will bring that energy down. You understand? And people will be able to tap in on a personal level. We will start out collectively, but you trust me where it goes. And those that have been there in the past will understand that. And it's going to be a beautiful ritual because it's a two-part ritual. There's a lighter side, more tranquil, spiritual part. And then the second part becomes very intense and aggressive. So it'll be a very nice experience. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. So hopefully that puts some clarification on that. All right. All right. There's another good question. Worthy of Praise 3. What are your thoughts of self-initiation? I think they're very powerful tools. They're probably one of the most powerful initiations. Now, I do think initiations in a group setting and an individual setting, they serve two different purposes. And I'm saying this from my experience. For an example, if you're a lot of these rituals in dealing with the black arts and black magic, or if you want to, again, if you want to use the term, as they say, left-hand path systems, which again, as I said, I try not to use that term as little as I can, do require a lot of self-initiation. Self-initiation is personal. It's very powerful. It carries a different energy. It's totally different than a group initiation, such as if you're initiated in a lodge, or for an example, OTO initiation or a Masonic lodge initiation. That carries a whole different energy. To me, the group initiations, it's more like overcoming these challenges, because a lot of them involve, there's a physical element to it. So you're challenged in a group physically and mentally simultaneously, where I find self-initiation tends to be more personal empowerment and a little more spiritual. And depending on the type of self-initiation, it can be very intense spiritually, and it could also be very tranquil and laid back. Again, it just depends on what system you're doing. So I think self-initiation actually is a great thing. And if you're on this path, you practice it in some form or fashion, and you've done it on some level. But no, just like ceremonial magic and group ritual has its place and serves a purpose, so does personal ritual and self-initiation. That carries a different energy, and it also serves a purpose. Now, it's up to you. Some people don't feel the need to participate in group or ceremonial magic. That's entirely up to you. I've found that as I've been on this path for years, I find that you need certain levels of both of those energies to kind of create that harmony. That's just me. You might be a person that say, well, I don't need one. I don't need self-initiation, or I don't need group initiation or group ritual or ceremonial magic. Maybe so. And again, that's entirely up to you. I can only speak for myself. I find a good mix of it all tends to create a good harmonious energy within me as a functioning black adept. I do need that group experience sometimes. I found that some people that have completely disconnected from it, there's a disconnect on a certain level. There's an element missing. So I just think you need to harmonize the periods when you need to do the personal work that's private, that you do in your ritual chamber or however. And I do think sometimes you need to feed off of that energy, especially from a vampiric aspect. You need to feed off of that energy with people of like same minds. That's the purpose why we do group rituals once a month. So we have that option for those that want to experience that side of it. Is it mandatory? Absolutely not. You're not obligated. It's not mandatory. It's you do it according to your own free will and accord. And we make that clear with you when you show up at a ritual. Are you willing to participate in this of your own free will and accord? And at any moment you can say no and leave. Peace. No love lost. You know, we still feel the same way about you when you walked in and when you left. So it's personal, but I do think self-initiation is very, very empowering. So that's my thoughts on that. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name. Diodalis DX. Sometimes I temporarily lose all trust in my magic and my power. What should one do in such times? You know what? That's an honest. I'm glad you're being honest. And we all go through for it. It's like, look at it like writer's block. Anybody, remember, this is an art. We say it's black arts, right? You have that term arts on it. It is an art. But look at it like this. Just like somebody that writes lyrics or music or movies or scripts, they get what? Writer's block. It's a creative thing. So when you feel like your magic is not power, or you're not feeling the power from it, or you're losing, find ways to stimulate and be creative. Find ways to stimulate your creative. Try maybe, and I'm just throwing ideas at you. This is a very good question too. Maybe, I'm not saying in this case that you're doing that. Maybe you're doing, or you're staying on the same thing too much. Maybe you need to change it up, or maybe explore something completely different that you never thought you would even mess with, because that might create a more invigorated energy, which is going to stimulate your power. Now, remember, Your power is, is created and stimulated by your passion. So if you stimulate some of those creative juices, maybe you need to go completely the other direction and change it up and try something you never even thought of trying. Just a few suggestions. Now, could be other things. Now, let's attack some of the basics. I don't know your physical health or your physical situation. Sometimes our power is weakened by a poor diet. I would recommend you also, I'm not saying this is the case with you, I'm just trying to touch every aspect. I did a whole video a while back on, diet and exercise. So let's attack the basics before we go super spiritual, because if your health, you could have ongoing health issues that can affect your magic. It can affect your concentration level, it can affect your intent and your focus. If your diet is poor, that affects your concentration. If you're intaking too much artificial foods, preservatives, you're eating a lot of fatty foods, artificial foods, you're eating a lot of bleached flours, sugars, all that stuff can affect the power of your magic. If you're not exercising regularly and getting sleep, I talk about sleep. A lot of us don't know how to condition our bodies to sleep. Now, if you're like me and you do a lot of your work, a lot of magicians work from the midnight hours on. So you got to find methods to get your sleep. Now, I'll take periods of rest where I can in the day, do my work. A lot of work I do from 12 to 3 a.m. And then I make sure I get another 5 to 6 hours of sleep after that. You will find, and I don't care what anybody says, a lot of weakness, and I've seen this translate from the physical to the spiritual. Lack of sleep can create a lot of problems. I know a lot of people suffer from sleep disorders, whether it's insomnia, whether it's breathing issues. I know that can affect your power. So I would start there. Ask, and then again, I'm speaking to everybody also now, but this is a good question that Diadalis DX brought up. First, look at the physical things. Address everything physical first. Are there any physical things that might be hindering my power with my magic? If you've eliminated all the physical and health obstacles, then we need to go mentally. Are you when you're doing your ritualistic work, really take a stock of what distractions are coming up that might be preventing that power from coming through. Is it previous spiritual systems? Is it previous things you used to do, etc.? But you got to look at it two ways. You should look at it from a multitude of ways. Once you eliminate all those things, then the next step, in my estimation, would be maybe shift gears and try something completely new. Try that and go from there. Hopefully that might push you in the right direction. All right. All right. Peace, Anarchy Zed. All right. Yeah, been a minute, brother. Good to see you. Good that you're asking if everybody's doing great. I think everybody is good, and hopefully everything is good with you. And I'm sure you got some more questions and comments and posts at the bottom, but good to see you here. Danielle Sullivan, some say you must be born into a tradition or having ancestral connections to different spirits. Otherwise, they will reject you. And that is true according to tradition. Okay? So you are making a lot of correct statements, but a lot of that is through tradition. Now, but let me say this. When you're working with spirits that require blood, it's more so applied to that. Let me give you an example. I'll use Palo Mayembe for an example. That is something that must be connected to you by blood, because there is an interchange of offering of blood, literally. Okay. Now, this is why I tell people Palo is not something you can just get up one morning for anybody. It don't matter what ethnicity you are. You can be black, Latino, whatever it is, white. You can be Asian, whatever it is. You can't just get up and go, yeah, I want to get initiated in Palo. Because the first thing that has to be established, and this is one of those systems where that applies because of the working and the connection with blood, you must be marked to be scratched or initiated in Palo. And how does that happen? Well, it's done. There's a couple of methods that's determined. One, if you're at any type of ritualistic Palo gathering where they bring the Palo spirits down, a Palo, it could be Mama Cholo, it could be Zarabanda, it could be Lucero. One of the Palo spirits will come through and they will mark you. Usually that's done with the cascarilla or some type of marking device on your body. The sigil is drawn on you, or some symbol connecting to you being marked, which is to be scratched or initiated, right? Some can go before Polaro and do some type of divination and ask the Apollo spirits if it is in your, destiny or lineage to be marked or scratched. And I want to make this clear because I always get this question. I get, how many emails I've gotten over the years? I want to get initiated in Apollo. What do you think? It's not what I think. It's what is lies dormant in you. If it's in you, yes, and you want to experience it, then that's fine. If I know what I know now, and I've said this also, I wouldn't waste my time with it if I knew what I knew now. It's just, to me, I look at it now as another experience under my belt. And I say that with all due respect because I would never disrespect it. It's a very powerful system, but I would never, ever, if I knew what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have done it. But my point is, in relation to that question by Danielle, very good question. Once it's found, if you go to some type of divination, because a good Polaro will turn away just as many people that they initiate, they will turn just as many away that is not in their lineage. And I've seen many Black people get turned away because it came clear that this is not something that they need to do. I've seen Latinos get turned away. I've seen Caucasians get turned away because it's just not necessary. What it means where it can do more harm, if you're starting to connect with an energy that is not on the same frequency that's connecting with you, because it might be something that can overtake you, right? Then it overtake you as far as dominate in areas of your psyche that's not really productive for you. That's where it can mess you up and cause confusion. But when you're working with left-hand path or Black arts principles, what you're really doing is, getting yourself, accustomed to how those frequencies and energies work. So you can kind of adjust how you want to work with it on a certain level. But when you're going into specifically a lot of those traditional initiated systems that require the working of blood, that does apply on some level. So does it apply on every level? No, because you can be a Buddhist and practice all the systems of Buddhism and not be born in some part of India or some part where Buddhism is prominent. You can be a Muslim. How many people convert to Islam? And technically that's not in their family lineage and blood. You could be a straight, 100% pure, bred American and raised on Christianity and convert to that culture and that system. And that's the basic religions. But in higher systems of spirituality, that really only applies, again, to those traditional spiritual systems that work with a lot of ancestral blood. So that's why I use the Palo Mayimbe or Palo, example in general, because again, Palo is one of those systems where you can't just wake up and go, I want to join Palo. It's not like joining a Masonic lodge. It's not how it works. And I would always suggest to people that always say, I don't even like the question personally. Oh, what do you think? You think I should get initiated in Palo? It's not what I think. It has nothing to do with the fuck I think. That shit is irrelevant. You understand? Is it necessary is the question. Is it really necessary for you to do? And if it comes up, it is, and you're full and you're 100% fully feel dedicated to doing it, power to you. Go for it. You understand? So hopefully that answers that question. All right. Oni types in an interesting comment. Funny, Danielle, you say that. I got an Odu in a reading today that stated just that. Choose one path and take it. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at that in a multitude of ways, especially when you're dealing with the Odus. Now, that could mean for the time being, it could mean you need, I don't know what followed after that, but it could mean you need some stability right now, and you might need to focus and concentrate on a particular thing, etc. But again, remember, this path deals with vastness and fluidity, right? Worthy of Praise 3 says, I wouldn't expect my ancestors to assist anyone that is not of our lineage. Well, remember, when you're working with your bloodline ancestors, that's what you got to remember. You're dealing with your blood. Nobody can work with your bloodline ancestors. So regardless if you're a Latino, if you're Black, European, whatever it is you might be, your personal shrine is geared toward working with that ancestral lineage and bloodline. And that's why that's the foundation. Because, yeah, you can't go working with somebody else's ancestral lineage, that would just be, completely ridiculous. But that's a good point. All right. Anarchy Z types. And every time I watch him up, I end up with a list of books that I have written down. Yeah, but that's good. I mean, look, I put the books out there so you guys could do your own research. At least I know some of these books can be very thick. I'm not expecting you, if you can, great, read them all. I mean, I'm a reader, so I love to read books, period. I have them on, I have the Scribed app. I got them on electronic devices. To me, there's nothing like just holding a hard copy of a book in your hand. There's nothing like it. I don't feel the same. I mean, I got a lot of books saved on my tablet and stuff. It's just not the same experience. I don't know what it is about holding a book. There's just something about it. I've always been, even before I was even as a kid, I was always enamored with books. I don't know what it was. It's just not like holding a good book in your hand. So that's the best way I could describe it. But yeah, I mean, get the books if you can. If you don't have the time to read them all cover to cover, at least graze through them. And I do that so you can get your creative juices flowing, so you can create your own stuff. That's the reason why. But that's funny you put that in there. Man, the dangers of peace, enlightened ones. Peace, the illuminated ones. All right, Manny, what's going on? I'll see you tomorrow. I know you'll be in the class tomorrow. Anarchy Z types in, yeah, bro, I don't have nothing set up for my ancestors. I mean, that's maybe you might want to, again, like I said earlier, you don't got if try. I would recommend definitely doing it. Look, people, I'm not forcing anybody to do or not do anything. Maybe start out with something, again, it don't have to be extravagant. Maybe start with something minimal, like a simple, small little table, put a cloth on it. Some like to use white or black. Just a simple white candle for them, a glass of water. Have the 4 elements on there: earth, wind, air, fire. The incense would represent the air, the fire is the candle, the water element. And just get some graveyard dirt, some soil or some earth. Have those 4 elements and pictures. Simply put some pictures of relatives that you might have that have passed on. If you don't have a lot of pictures, you can write names down on parchment paper. That's effective too. You can just start with something very simple and small like that. Because I'm telling you, and I would suggest it because you will see from the experience will confirm what I'm saying. Not because I'm saying it. You will see that your work, and again, to the other person that asked the question about lack of power, I'm not sure if they got something set up for their ancestors, but you will see it will enhance the power of the energy that you're working with. I think it's a good foundation. I just think it only enhances and makes stronger, what you're working with. And I would say to come to that conclusion, try it and experience it and see what you come up with. So maybe start with something basic, Oni, yeah, my ancestor altar is the biggest one I have. Yes. I don't know how much about my family, though. I'm sure that don't matter in this aspect. No, it don't. Because here's a good tool. When you're going, if you're propagating your ancestors before your altar, if you say you're an individual that doesn't know much about your family background, this is another good question that comes up. You first would always, I like to, again, as I've mentioned before, I like to use what we call an Igun or an ancestral staff. And the names I do know, I like to tap the staff on the ground 3 times and say the name of the person. And then I always like to close it with, and I also acknowledge those ancestral ancestors of my bloodline that I am not aware of, and those ancestral spirits that I'm not aware of. I acknowledge them too. Just by that little simple invocation, you're acknowledging everything. So it is not, if you don't know a detailed history, it's irrelevant. As long as you make that proclamation when you're propagating them, you're also saying, I'm acknowledging, because what will happen over time as you work with your ancestors, the ones you are not aware of, you will start to become aware of. Trust me when I tell you that. As you work with it consistently, ancestral spirits will start to make themselves aware of you, whether it's Indian spirits, whatever it might be. Ancestors will start to uncles and grandparents that you didn't even know when you were, they weren't alive when they died years ago. They will start to work their way through. Now, I also want to say this, and I've talked about this in the past. Be careful when working with animals. I don't say this in a scary way. Remember, not all your ancestral spirits that come through are coming through for positive reasons, because understand this, you do have some ancestors in your bloodline that were killers and murderers. and did some foul shit. And some of them are looking for a gateway or a doorway to connect back through here. Now, the next question that usually comes up after that is, well, how do I know that that's one? You will know. Trust me when I tell you. And how do you get rid of it is real simple. You just command them to depart. It's that simple. It's nothing spooky. It's nothing heavy. Once you recognize it, and you'll be able to feel and recognize it, say, I command you to go back from whence you came. That's you, because remember, you're always in control. They cannot come through unless you allow them to come through. But when you are in a state of fear and you cave in, they feed. Fear is like a drug to them. The more you fear and the weaker you are, they feed off of that fear and they can prey upon you. And you start convincing yourself you're powerless. So there are those rare occasions where certain ancestral spirits will try to come through that are not really productive for you. So I want to also make that crystal clear. And we've talked about that in the past. I know many of you are aware of that, but I'm saying that for those that might not be aware of that. So that's why I always say approach, when you're working with the ancestral aspect of this path, always approach it with reverence and respect, and a sincere intent. If your intent is sincere, you won't have no problem. Trust me when I tell you that. So I just want to make people aware of that aspect of it. That definitely is a part of it. All right. All right. So I see you guys commenting about ancestral altars amongst each other. I'm going to skip that. What else we got here? Yeah, Anarchy Zed was talking about earlier. Yeah, that Alexa shit. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if you guys, some of you weren't on earlier. When I was talking about Zombie and Dambella Guido, Alexa was going off. I couldn't get it to stop, and then I had to just tell her to keep quiet. So I was joking around because I don't know if the voodoo spirits was using her as a vessel to talk. She started, I don't know if you heard it, she started breaking down voodoo spirits. And she started breaking down who Dambella Guido is, Papa Legba. I don't know if you heard it earlier. It was crazy. When you go back, if after the recording posts, go back and play the video. It's somewhere in the first half an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. But it was funny as shit. And and to be honest with you, that thing has never done that since I've had it. But, I'm trying to, let's not go to Spookville. But I just thought it was kind of funny. What else we got? What else we got? Yeah, it's true. I'll tell you what, when I first got the Alexa, I was disappointed with it, man. It's cool and everything, but let me tell you something, man. The people that come up with this shit, they're fucking geniuses, man. They come up with some gadget and they pumping these things out. I know, because we got two. We got the big Alexa here in the middle part of the house, and then in the bedroom we got the Echo Dot, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. These fucking people are geniuses to come up with a gadget that's $30 and $60, whatever the fuck it is. Just think about how genius that is, and you go sell millions of them. That's how easy it is to market shit. You put it out there, you promote it, it becomes a trend, a fad, everybody wants it. Now we just got it because thought it was cool. I mean, it's not that we were propelled or obligated to get it, but just to get it because thought it'd be cool or whatever. To me, it ain't even all that. I don't really even fuck with it like that. I was asking it some basic baseball shit, and that's a whole nother story. But I know you got to do one thing I also found, I haven't really had time to do it. I know you got to also there's ways you can upgrade it and enhance it. You got to put shit into it. But I ain't got time for all that shit. Yeah, it's like any other thing. Something is new, it's cool, and then you get fucking bored with it. You know what I mean? That's how you should be on this path. You know what I mean? Once something has run its course, then you need to jump to something else. That's how it works. All right, what else we got? Yeah, and I agree. This is a good statement by Anarchy Zed. He types in, I'm not knocking ebooks, but sometimes the hard copies have more content than the ebooks do. I do own some ebooks, but I love my hard. Me too. I'm in the same boat. I found like the ebooks, like for an example, and I've mentioned this in the past, like the Scribe app. I think the Scribe app is a great thing. And for the couple of dollars a month that they charge for the subscription, and it gives you access to just about any book. I use the Scribe app to, if I'm unsure whether or not to get a book, I like to check it out on the Scribe app first. Once I know it's a book I definitely want, that's how I determine if I'm going to get a hard copy book. So sometimes it's the Scribe app has saved me a lot of money because I went and read through the ebook and it wasn't what I thought it was. And I was glad. So I'll check it first on the Scribe app through the ebook version. Once I see, oh, this is a book I need in hard copy, then I'll go on Amazon or whatever and I'll go ahead and order it. That's the beauty. That's kind of how I work with the ebooks. And I kind of save, I have duplicates. Like I have some of the same books I have on hard copy, I have also in my ebooks. And the reason why I do that is in case I'm traveling, if I want to access something. So there's a beneficial way to use the ebook thing. It's more of a convenience factor. Like, again, if I'm traveling, if I'm flying on a plane, or if I'm out of state, and I want to, obviously it can be a little heavy trying to carry a boatload of books. Even packing 3, 4, 5 books can take up space in your luggage. I might carry one hard copy book in my little knapsack bag, and then that's why I have a lot of my ebooks for when I'm traveling. It's just convenient to be on a plane or in a hotel, or if I'm at a family's house traveling, where you can access the ebook. So that's kind of how I use it. But yeah, it's not like a hard copy, man, in my estimation. All right. What else we got here? I see some of you guys are talking a little astrology with the Mercury retrograde and all that. And we actually we covered a little bit of that in the candle magic in last Saturday's class. I've talked about that in videos. Yes, there is a way to, we can get into that another time. I don't want to open that. But yes, incorporating, the astrological aspect of things, especially the timing and planning of your rituals, to me, that becomes very important. If you notice, and I think somebody asked this question last time or the class before. If you notice, the timing that we always do the rituals is always when it's getting ready or it's at the transition of a new moon. And there's a reason for that, because there's always higher spiritual energy, quote unquote, in the ethers. So the timing of your work, now granted, if you're a real skilled Black magician, yeah, you can work under any condition at any sign when need be. But when you have the opportunity to plan and time your work, I always like to do planning and timing is key. You can, I try not to do, as I mentioned this a bunch of times in the past, I try not to do any work when we are in that, planetary influence of Jupiter or the Scorpio influence, because it's not a productive energy to get results. And depends on the time of night you're doing a ritual, because you got to also factor in the planetary hours, etc. A good book I'd always recommend to time some of that is Charmaine Day's The Magic Candle. She's got a good chart in there for the planetary hours, the astrological sign, and the waning and the waxing of the moon. So I think when you can time and plan your rituals, you should make it conducive with the coinciding energy. But when you really got to exert your power as an adept of the Black arts, you might have to work some magic under any sign. And that's where your true power comes out as a true adept and a true god or a goddess. So it just depends. But again, if you have more control over the situation and more timing and planning, it's always good to incorporate that if you can. You understand? Sister Yvette, sorry that I'm late. No problem. Papa Legba's sigil is beautiful. It would make a beautiful tattoo. Yes, it would. And we will have that beautiful sigil displayed on our altar at the ritual. We have it being worked on right now by Miss Sonia's mama, who draws all the sigils for our rituals. So we want to give her some thanks. She assists pretty much, I'm going to say, most of the rituals that required some type of artwork or sigils. She pretty much did it. So it's a group effort. Brother Jack, too, shout out to Brother Jack and Brother Mike, who are, drumming or assisting and participating in the ritual. Jack's going to be spitting some Creole and French at this ritual. So talk with him today. He's going to come by some point either this week or next week. And we're going to get our chanting and sequence and drumming. We're going to get all that lined up and get ready for this ritual. So Jack's going to be spitting that Haitian Creole. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it, man. Okay, what else we got? Anarchy Z types in. That's what I do when the Mormons roll up to my house, or whoever it is that sells God and rides bikes. I just tell them I'm spiritual. Yeah. I do that too. But you know what? It's funny you bring that up, man. God, my God, I should say, but it's funny because back in the day, I ain't gonna front, man. I used to look for them motherfuckers just to go to war with them. When I was just an aggressive piece bastard, man. I was an aggressive fucker back in the day. I used to look for the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I can recall real quick just two funny stories. I remember one day, I never fucking forget it, and these motherfuckers thought they saw a zombie, a ghost, a devil, and a spirit all at the same time. They didn't know what to make of it. And now this was at the time I was like heavy into Orisha. And I had all my implements. I mean, right from the time you walked in the front door, I had a Naga pod, I had my Eshu. I mean, you can just see everything was laid out. And you notice that kind of shit, like when you walk into something, but it's kind of too late. It's too late to back out. Well, I used to look for the motherfuckers back in the day when they knocked on my door, and I let them in. And it was two of them, and I never forget. It was like when they walked in, as soon as they got past the front door, it was like they knew they fucked up. Like they just knew they fucked up. And, they were trying to find a way out, and they started this Jehovah shit. And I was throwing little shit at them like the creator's name can't be Jehovah. There's no letter J in the Hebrew alphabet. How'd you guys come up with that name? I was arguing with them. They were saying that the Melchizedek in Hebrews mentioned in the 5th and 7th chapter of Hebrews, that's Jesus. And I was like, well, how is that? Where it says in the 7th verse, 5th chapter, that he was a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. How could that be one and the same? Them motherfuckers, long story short, they were trying to find a way out. And their only shit they were throwing at me was, we're going to go back to our elders and we're writing down, I'm going to take some of these questions down. We're going to get you answers. They were finding anything to get out of that fucking house that day. And then the Mormon mother, I hate those motherfuckers. I ain't going to lie. I used to ride around in my car looking for them motherfuckers. I ain't even going to front. One day I caught two of them, and it pissed me off because one of them was Latino and the other was white. And the Latino was just a straight old Uncle Tom coon ass that he didn't know shit. So we got into the whole debate. For those that don't know, and you can research this for yourself, the Mormons didn't accept black people till sometime after 1970 something. And they taught prior to that the curse on Canaan was the black skin and the big lips and the big noses that black people had. And that's not what the Bible says. It says the curse on Canaan was leprosy. So I don't know where the fuck they get that from. And they claim to have this order. They call it's Melchizedek, but they call it the order of Melchizedek. Now, at that time, I was into all that Sufi mysticism too. I was in the order of Melchizedek. So now I'm looking for these motherfuckers. Like, I need to start fucking with them. And I'm asking them about the order of Melchizedek. I'm asking the Latino dude, he was really demented. He looked like a light-skinned black dude, personally. You wouldn't have known unless you asked him. I was asking him, I said, why are you rolling in a racist organization that didn't even accept your kind until the 1970s? And he wasn't even aware of it. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and find. Why you motherfuckers always got to go back and find shit out? You should know this shit before you come out here. And you should be careful who you approach. Well, even though I approached them that day, I was looking for them motherfuckers. I used to see them same two dudes after that. They used to see me. They used to go on the other side of the street. I even saw I was coming down the street one day, and they turned on their bikes and went the other way. Because back then, I used to have that spirit. I used to want to fucking destroy all that shit because I couldn't stand all those lies and bullshit. Now, because I'm past it now, don't get me wrong. If need be, you got to pull out that can of whoop ass every once in a while. I've had to do it here and there. But when you're working this path and you got things in order, that shit is irrelevant at this point. But it just sparked that memory when I saw you type in Mormons. I used to look for them motherfuckers, man, back in the day. But all right, what else we got? Finish out these questions and comments. What else we got? Hold on, things skipped on me. Skipped on me. I left off. Where's Jack's comment? Shit. Where's Jack? Fuck. Damn, bear with me, man. This thing blanked out, came back up. I gotta find my spot. Oh, shit. Damn. Damn. Okay, here we go. Mormons. I found my spot. That was where Jack came in. All right, so damn, I'm at 9:14. Getting Anarchy's egg, getting some knowledge dropped to my dome. Okay. Oh, look at Sonya trying to talk Jamaican. Wagwan. I say I fly with eagles. Oh, it really throws them off. That was in reference to the comment earlier about being versatile. Yeah, don't because when people ask, we all get that question. Trust me, at some point or another, we've all gotten that question. Oh, what is your religion? Do you believe in God? I'm sure we've all gotten that. Everybody's gotten that at one time or another. And that's it. You don't conform to none of that shit. It does throw them off. Witchy woman. Hi, I'm new to this live stream. Oh, well, we welcome you, witchy woman. You're welcome here. And just, I don't know what time you came in. If you might have came in, I don't know if you came in at 9:15. You probably came in kind of late. Just so you know, we don't conform or, condone one specific spiritual system. It's kind of an open forum. We do deal with, mainly the occult, black magic, the dark arts, which some people will call left-hand path. That's kind of what this forum is about. So if you are new to it, I don't know if you just stumbled across it. I don't know if somebody told you about it, but just so you understand, that's what we deal with, but you are more than welcome here, just like anybody else is. Brother Phil types in, sometimes I feel the effects of gravity a lot more. Like I feel weighed down per se. Ever heard of this experience? Yeah, it's called stop smoking the weed. I'll never stop. Yes, I've heard of that on a multitude of levels. And now, again, I can't say per se this for sure is what's happening to you, but I do know when people are working on a certain level with spirits, archetypes, or they're doing some type of energy work, there could be many different physical effects of it. I've heard that, like you're saying, with gravity and not feeling weighed down. I know people that get severe headaches, lightheadedness, dizziness. What's that other shit that they call where everything always feels like it's spinning? Some people get physical ailments, nausea, vomiting. And sometimes they think that they're sick, but sometimes what it is it's just tapping into those frequencies, energies, and vibrations, and it can leave a physical effect on the body. Now, I do want to say this. Don't get super spooky spiritual. If you get any physical ailments, eliminate them not being an illness. So I don't want nobody to say, oh, well, I'm sick and throwing up and it's just because I'm very spiritual. No, you could be sick too. So, but I'm just saying in reference to Phil bringing that up, I do know some people that have had those effects. But again, you should eliminate verifying that you don't have a physical illness. But it seems like in your case, Phil, you're sure. It sounds definitely more so something spiritual. So that can definitely happen. And everybody should be conscious of that. What else we got? All right, so Phil typed in down here. Again, I'm going to skip your personal conversation with each other. I'm just going to bypass that just for the sake of saving time. That'll save time. Phil types in word, no problem, thanks. But pardon the long email. Just had a comment about extraterrestrial videos. This is Brother Phil. Been a minute. I did read your email, Phil. It was interesting. And I saw the stuff you said you were working on. And again, the reason why I did that video, that was some emails that have come up over the last couple of weeks. Believe it or not, I do get emails from people that are into the extraterrestrial phenomenon. I don't know why, because I don't really discuss a lot of it on my channel. I have done here and there. So I tried to address it from how we work on this path. I tried to remove the spookism out of it. And again, as I said last week, and again, I'm not going to get too long drawn out into it. I think it was needed video for the time because it's become a religion. I hate to say it, UFOism and abducteeism. And as I said before, briefly, do people who claim to be abducted and are seeing things, I'm not saying I do believe they're having some type of experience. I do think it's subjective. I do think where it becomes a religion, the problem is where everybody starts to accept somebody else's experience. This is how these religions start. Now, I also used the historical aspect of it last week. If you missed the video, if there's people in here this week and missed last week's video, I would go watch it because we also should know how to address these topics, even though we're on this path, because really, if somebody comes up to us and says, all right, we deal with archetypes and deities, well, what do you think about extraterrestrials? Now, you got to have some type of answer for it. Now, you could just say, I don't give a fuck. All right, fine. If that's your choice. But I don't care to be bothered with it. But I don't think that's the intelligent approach. I did that video from a perspective of us being on this path and how we work with how we should put that into perspective. That was my point. So when that does come up, because you're going to get that shit to come up, because remember the title of tonight's video, the vastness and versatility of black magic. So there shouldn't be any topic you shy away from. I don't care if it's fucking bacon bagels. You understand what I'm saying? You shouldn't shy away from anything. You should be able to have some input on it. I'm not saying you got to know everything about it, but I was trying to take the spookism out of it by applying some of the historical data to it too, which I did for the first portion of the video. Look, you got to be a stupid idiot to think that there's not other higher intelligent life force that have visited this planet. I was removing the spookism by telling people, look, don't separate yourself from these things or beings you're calling extraterrestrials, because they are you are them. You understand? Where it becomes a religion is where we're separating. Then we're back to that religion. There's God, angels, prophets, and mortals, right? We're creating that separation. UFOism has become like that. You have the mother planet, the mothership, which is symbolic of heaven and freedom and getting out of here. You have the extraterrestrials, which are the angels or the messengers that come down. You know, it all connects back. And I was trying to eliminate that to show you, look, there's always been, and I reference a lot of Dr. Delbert Blair's videos, and I think he's a good authoritative person on that particular topic. And again, I also stated, did I agree with everything he taught? Absolutely not. But I'm saying I just basically supplied information and data for you to draw your own conclusion on it. I'm not telling you what and what not to think of extraterrestrials, UFOs, and abductees. Again, my personal experience on it and my outlook on it from my research, I do believe these people are having some type of experience. I don't doubt that, but I do think it's subjective. And I think where the struggle comes is we struggle as collectively of how to put it into perspective and how to differentiate between a subjective and an objective experience. And I also went into how some of those physical sightings of those crafts are actually military crafts. Some of them are not of extraterrestrial origin. Have some of these sightings been? I'm sure they have. But I think the thing we need to really focus on how that does not affect us in our work. And I don't really think it affects us. It only affects us as we allow it to affect us. If you're caught up in this whole concept that some spaceship is going to come and destroy the planet and only take the chosen, shit, you might as well just go back to church, because they're teaching the same thing, the rapture. Only 144,000 are going to be chosen, and the rest of you motherfuckers is getting torn to the wayside. So it was all done to show you, like, look, at the end of the day, how does this really affect you as a black adept? In essence, it really don't. But it doesn't negate the reality if it's real or not. I wasn't trying to do the video to challenge that fact, because I'm not going to get into that pissing and shitting game with that. To me, it's a waste of energy. So that's your personal study. If that's your interest and that's your work, power to you. Go, indulge yourself in it. I dabble in it a little here. It's always interested me. There was periods back in the past where I was into it, probably a little heavier than I am now. But it's always something that sparked my interest, and it's always something I'm always dabbling in here and there, but not to the point where it's going to affect what I got to do. That's irrelevant. All right. Yeah, Oni typing. Yeah, come back soon to Brooklyn. The cronies miss you. Yeah, I'm definitely be back soon. It was good being up that way. Actually, for those that don't know, Oni lives right on St. James Place, right across the street from where Biggie and all them grew up. The actual house. She's literally like right across the street, 2-3 houses down. That's her neighborhood, right off of Fulton over there. Very familiar with the area. It's changed though over the years, with the Barclays Center and the upgrades and shit that they're doing over there. But I had an opportunity to spend a little time over there a couple of weeks ago. I had fun actually, and actually the day before, 2 days before, I actually went and caught a Yankee game that Tuesday night. Wasn't there for a good reason. As you guys know, a close friend of mine passed away. Childhood friend, all throughout high school, adult years, passed away. transitioned on, I should say. Anarchy Zed, for the sake of time, go to the beginning of the stream. I go into depth with some of the ancestor shrines, just so I don't have to go back and repeat. I know you heard earlier what I was saying about how to start with a basic shrine, which is just simply the basic elements: earth, wind, air, fire, water, a white cloth, the white candle representing the fire, a goblet of water, some graveyard dirt or earth or soil, and the incense representing the air element, and pictures of your ancestors if you have them, or write their names on parchment. Make you some type of eagle staff. It could be anything you want, decorative, as go crazy. You can go mild. I would just start with the basics, but you will see it can be very basic. It can be very elaborate. I would say I'm somewhere in between. I know Sister Oni is very elaborate on hers. I know Sister Sonia is kind of elaborate on hers. It all depends. But you will your intuition will kick in. You'll see as time goes on, you start to add to it. So you might start out very basic, and that's probably going to expand and grow as you start to work with it. But go to the beginning of the stream just for the sake of time, so I don't have to repeat it all over again. All right, My V, and I know, again, we'll see Sister My V at the ritual at the end of the month. You get great information. You're very knowledgeable. I can't wait for the experience on the 31st. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the 31st. You know what? I've seen this. Only typed in. This is funny. Only typed in. Why are people online trying to sell used Santa Muerta pendant? I don't know. I've seen that and other shit. I've seen other type of spiritual implements. Let me say this, people. I wouldn't. It's not all right. It's one thing buying something new from a supplier or dealer because, it's got vibrations and energy on it from people touching it and handling it. It's the same thing when you're buying candles from a store. Why you clean and prepare candles is because when you're buying candles from a candle store, a supplier, or a distributor, you always got to remember there's a multitude of hands that have touched it. So there's all these different vibrations and energies on it. So you always, again, what I like to do is I use a little bit of Florida water. I like to wipe down my candles with Florida water, wipe any residue off them, etc. Charge them up, whatever means you want to charge them up with, frankincense and myrrh, sage, sea salt and water. I like to sprinkle them with that before the rituals, etc. You should never, ever, because you might be taking an implement that was fed ancestral blood, let's say. It could have been used in a ritual for an individual. I would never buy like something like that used, regardless if it was a good price, because you don't know. Even if you do, can you clean it? And if you know what you're doing, can you remove the energy and vibrations off it? Yes. But I wouldn't really want something that somebody else used. I want my own energy from the very get-go stamped on it. But I have seen it. It's crazy as it sounds. Well, apparently if I'm constantly saying it, that means somebody's buying the shit. And obviously somebody that's buying something like that, obviously doesn't know what they're doing. So I wouldn't recommend that, but I have seen it. It is pretty crazy. Anarchy Z types in. He runs a clean shot. I caught a glance at some of his book collection one night. Wow, seriously impressive as fuck. That's what I like more. I mean books. And that section, that one video when I was going through my book chest, that's just the one here in the living room. I probably got another chest in the hallway there and another one in my ritual room. And I just got yelled at yesterday from my wife about she keeps busting my balls about bringing more books in the house. She always jokes with me about it. Because we're running out of space for books. She says, stop bringing these fucking books in the house. She's only joking, though. I got books on the side here that I can't fit in. I got a book holder right there that I'm looking at where I keep my main books that I'm reading all the time. She constantly busting my balls about it, but it is what it is. All right, what else we got? Daniel Sullivan says, thank you, handsome. Well, thank you, Danielle. Stop. Sony types in used only. That's some bullshit. It is. And the sad thing about it is, like I said, if people are online, and I've seen it I've seen it a bunch of times. If you got people online selling used pendants and shit and used spirits, that actually means, I hate to say it, somebody's buying this shit. That's the scarier part. It's not, it's fucked up the person selling it. That's one thing. I get that. But it's more fucked up to me is the person that's actually buying it. That's the shit that's more fucked up to me. You can't hate on the motherfucker that's selling it, making a few dollars. Maybe they short for some money, whatever. What else we got? Yeah, and that's why, like Anarchy said, I love how you will rank and either grab a book and prove your point. And that's why I pull the books. I'm trying to show you where the stuff is coming from. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, so I want you to do the research yourself and draw your own conclusion. I'm not going to front and pretend like I'm not looking at a book and read some shit and not tell you where I'm getting it from. It's obviously, you can see I'm reading out of a book. I'd be playing myself if I did that. If I'm sitting there trying to keep a book down and pretending like I'm not reading, you can see I'm looking at a book. You're not fucking stupid. And I'm not trying to make it look like that I'm deep and that all this stuff is coming from me. No, this is not all coming from me. Do I need the books? No, I could sit here and do a class for 5-6 hours without even referring to one book. Trust me, I've done it. And those that have known and been around me have seen me do it. But when you're doing the format in a forum like this, I have to give you something tangible that you can connect, because you may not be able to remember everything. You can go back and rewatch the video, but sometimes having something physical and tangible, like the reference of the book, it can also, when you go back in the book, you can see it and it's going to spark. You go, oh yeah, I remember that. That was in the video. That was being discussed, this and that. There's a method to that. So there's a reason why I do that methodology of I try to prepare little excerpts from books before I come on, and I'll probably do it right before I come on. I'll just mark something that's pertinent to the topic, and then I can kind of connect it. So there's a method. I think that's an effective method when you're teaching on a social media platform. So that's why I do that. So I'm glad that helps and it works in some shape, form, or fashion. What else we got here? Worthy of the praise 3. Thank you for the question. I learned from it as well. Good. And that's the whole purpose. As long as, look, the purpose of these videos, as long as you can get something out of it and it helps you in some shape, form, or fashion, then mission accomplished. Oni. And be patient, people. I'm only at 9:30 of the hour. I'm going right down the line. There's so much bullshit out there. It's hard as fuck to trust any group out here. People looking at your pockets before your spirit. And unfortunately, that's a reality. Now, I can only speak for myself. My business ethics and the work that I do charge for some of the things that I do. I'm fair and honest with people. I don't make any false promises. I don't run game on people. We tell them they need this. That's the problem. When you run into a lot of these spiritualists, it's usually the initial reading, consultation, whatever meeting is always the doorway to more money game. And anybody that knows that works with me, when we're doing sessions, and Oni can attest to this because when I was in Brooklyn, I did one with her. Whatever comes through as work, I just give you the list, and she can attest. She wrote it down. She's going to go gather that stuff for herself. She's going to go put it together herself, and she's going to go ahead and do that spiritual work or that ritual herself. That's the difference. I want to make that clear. That's how I work, as opposed to if you go to a padrino or a madrina or some type of high priest or priestess. They're going to do some reading or consultation for you. Trust me. They're going to tell you, you need this, you need that. This is what's wrong. This is what you got to do to fix it. And then it's going to be followed up by a large amount of money that you need to do to get it done. Those that know that work, I don't do that. I basically tell you what comes through, tell you what you need to get, where you can go get it. And then I tell you, you need to put the shit together and do it yourself. So I'm not asking you for anything other than that. But because this is what I do, it does take up an X amount of my personal time. It's not the only thing I do in addition to working and running business. But it's what I do on the side. Yes, and I do use it and straight up. Of course, I do use it for an extra means of income, but I don't solely rely on it. But because it takes a lot of my time, I do just require to be compensated for my time. It's that simple. Now, everybody has their own approach and method to it. Fine, that's the way I do it. But I can tell you, and those, I don't need to put, like other websites, people got put up testimonials, and to me, they're all fake anyway. That doesn't impress me where you get some people to write on your website. I tell you to get the validation is through the exact experience. And those that know that have worked with me, you know that from the actual experience. So that's my method. I'm honest in what I do. I only charge what needs to be charged, and that's it. You got to be careful because, like Oni said, you go to a lot of these other places It's dollar after dollar. You need to do this ceremony. You need to do this cleansing. And then before you know it, you're a couple $1,000s in the hole. And then after that, after you're done spending that, nothing got accomplished. Whereas you might come to me for $52 and I might tell you something you need to do where it costs you $15, $20 to gather those materials. And then I usually get a call a few days later or a week later that what they were trying to accomplish, they accomplished. That's the difference. So you weigh it from $50 to $100 to get done what you need to get done, as opposed to thousands of dollars. That's why I said earlier, if I would have known what I know now about going through all those initiations and spiritual systems and spending all that money, and that shit is not cheap. You're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars. I wouldn't have wasted my time with it. That's why I said what I said earlier. But I now have to look at it and approach it as if that was an experience, and it served a purpose for that time. That's it. I'm not gonna look back on it and regret it and beat myself up over it. So yeah. Anyway, what else we got? Only Titans, yeah, shit. Sometimes I stay out from 12 to the break of dawn. I've done that a bunch of times. Yeah, 3 a.m. is a good time to do work. What else we got? Yeah, so Oni writes, Santa Muerte came to her in a dream state. That's how she knew. Yeah, and again, we've talked about that. Dreams can be a vehicle or tool used for communication between the spirits. Oni also types in, my Congo spirit has been with me for years. That is awesome. He's my real boyfriend. All right, what else we got here? You left the mic smoking this. Will you really simplify this thing? I just want to say I don't tune in every time because I've been able to tap in thanks to these lectures. No problem, Yitro. And if you can't tune in, they're always recorded. You can always catch them at your leisure. Not sure where you're located. Are you within the United States? Are you overseas in Europe, or where are you located? Just out of curiosity. I'm asking that, is it the time frame? Are you in a different time zone? Is that because I know we get people that tune in, obviously, within the United States on the West Coast. That's 3-hour time difference. I know I've had people contact me from Belgium, Netherlands, England, and I know that's a different time difference. So, yeah, and I'm glad you bring this point up, Yitro. There was a video I did a while back called When Does the Student let go of the teacher's hand and become the teacher or the master themselves? That's how your line of thinking should be coming on this path. That's why I came on this path, because I got tired of being the student. I don't want to be the student no more. I don't want to be following somebody, kissing somebody's ass for the rest of my life. That's the whole point of why I did that video a while back, because we have a lot of people that want to stay followers and students. You know what I'm saying? We're always a student in the sense that we're constantly learning. I'm not talking about that. So I'm always going to be a student in that sense, because I'm always willing to learn. So we never lose that mindset or that mentality. But I don't want to be a student for the rest of my life, being up under somebody or being a part of some organization or some system where I got to follow orders and take protocol and follow some chain of command of bullshit that's just basically set up to keep power and structure for the people at the top. You understand? So that's why I did that video. When the student lets go of the teacher's hand and becomes a teacher and the master themselves is when they make the full declaration to come on this path. That's why I did the video. So when you say, I am now coming on this path of self-mastery, I think that's what I'm going to call it instead of left-hand path. I use that term a lot. When you make that declaration, that's when you have now officially said bye-bye to the teacher mentality, student-teacher mentality. I'm out. I'm now going to become the master myself. I don't need that shit no more. Now, it doesn't mean along the way you cannot, and in the various different spiritual orders and systems I belong to now and in the past, it don't mean that you can't take guidance and wise words from elders. There's many elders to this day I respect. Some I still talk to, but I don't solely depend on them for my existence and my growth on any spiritual path. I will always be interested in their feedback when I go to gatherings, group gatherings for some of the organizations I belong to. It's always interesting to listen to some of the elders talk. It's always good to hear the stories, the learning experiences. But I make sure I establish, I'm not going to be up under nobody's butt cheeks no more. I'm done with that shit. You understand? So only typed in early, the Odu that you were talking about was Ogbi. Okay, that makes sense. Because the Odu or Ogbi, I would look at that Odu more so as, it didn't really mean you should just do one thing and one thing only. It means right now, when you get that Odu, it means right now you need to be focused on one particular thing to get some things straightened out. You know what that is, obviously. So you need to focus. You need to be focalized for the time being. But I wouldn't look at that as being completely shut down on one particular thing. But interesting. Yes, and there's another good comment by Yitro, and that answers this today. Got to drop the religion program. That's the block to facing the ego face to face. It is. And again, it's on a multitude of levels or layers. I want to be clear on that. What I mean by that is people are having effects of it on different levels. Some of it's hidden and they're not conscious of it. And some is very blatant and very obvious. Dark Occultist type. Peace to Brother Ivana Noon. He typed in, I did some black. Yeah, I was watching. It's a rain delay right now. I have it on the screen. I saw the home run. I was looking at it. And the motherfuckers need to get going though, man. Hopefully they continue this game, win this game as shitty as they've been playing lately. But yeah, I think I need to do some black magic for the Yankees. But yeah. What else we got here? Oni types in the spiritual Baptists do that moaning shit and steal your ashe and connect you with dead relatives. Yeah. Spiritual Baptist is a tradition very, very popular over in the Caribbean. It's like a conglomeration. I don't want to say it's Santeria. It's like a conglomeration of voodoo, African traditions, and Christianity. There's actually a lot of those groups in New York. I don't know if you probably come in contact with them. Yeah, they can be very, actually also Brother Mike, Seth Afner, he's had some unique experiences with the quote unquote spiritual Baptist. Yeah, be careful of him. I always tell people, be cautious of anybody that wants to touch your head. I don't fuck with anything like that. And in a lot of those traditions, they always want to lay their hands on your head. Never let nobody put their hands on your crown. Fuck that. Don't do that. All right. Okay, I just know Anarchy Zed said, I just know that my great-grandfather came here from Sicily. My parents split when I was 4. Long story short, my older brother basically raised me. So your great-grandfather, do you know if that Sicilian lineage is, you may or may not know, obviously. Do you know if that bloodline was passed down, straight through your immediate parents, or was there more mixture? Because if you are not aware of, you might want to do some research on Sicilian lineage, which I also have in my bloodline, which ties back to the Moors, the original African Moors that came from Northeast Africa. It goes even deeper. So you might have more of that African blood running through you than you're aware of, regardless of how you look. Understanding genetics is key to understanding who and what you are. So I'm not sure if you are aware of, did that direct Sicilian lineage go to your immediate parents? I know you said you're not, they split when you were 4, so you don't know much about them, but maybe your older brother does, or maybe there's some documented information you could pull up. That might be key because that might explain some spiritual systems that might be in your DNA. And I know people that have that in their DNA, you might be explain why you're connected to East. A lot of people with that in their DNA, such as myself also, are heavily attracted to Eastern mysticism, Arab Eastern mysticism, ancient Egypt, because the bloodline has run through there. And usually that's running through your veins. And there's usually a strong spiritual connection to that. And I know you said, I believe in the past, you've always been kind of drawn to working with Egyptian concepts. So could be. You might want to find some more information out on that. All right. What else we have? Mandy types in Santissima Muerte is everything, most feared, least talked about, only thing promised, speaks volumes. Anarchy Zed says, thanks, homie. I'm going to do that for sure. I don't feel like you forcing this on anyone or that I have to do it to grab my attention hard for some reason, though. That's the whole point. What else we got? Witchy woman typed in, I just found out my grandpa was a 32nd degree Mason and my grandma was with the Eastern Star. Oh, cool. I don't know if they were free and accepted, ancient free and accepted, Prince Hall, international. You should look into those traditions. So if they were connected to that on some level, that occult spirituality is probably, does it go even beyond what other people is it connected to in the family? So usually there's that occult connection there. I don't know if you have ever had any interest in that, but might be something to look into or help you with your ancestral connections. If they've passed on, for an example, let me give an example. Good idea. If they, I'm not sure if are they both still alive or not, but you say one of them had passed on and you had one of their Masonic implements, that would be a good thing to put on your ancestral altar. That's again if they're not still alive. That's funny. Oni brings that up. When we were sitting at her table and we were doing her reading, and she can attest to this. I did her reading with no type of tools of divination. All we did was had a candle and a glass of water. That's all we used. We cleared the space, and she had some pictures there on the table, and again, Granddaddy's picture just kept falling over every time we would tap into a couple of things, and I got all, and she saw it. I got all like I was on fire when that stuff was happening. Felt like I was dehydrating, but and that's all we used. We didn't use. I do sometimes like to use the cards because they're charged with different energies. Sometimes I like to use runes. Or sometimes I just like to use a candle and a glass of water, nothing else. And that particular one called for that. But it was a good session, and it kind of piggybacked off of some shit she had did a day or two before that. So, gave us some confirmation, and, she's got some work she's working on right now. And I know she will be successful at it. Manny types in beautiful, exactly how the stories from the Holy Bible should be reconstructed. Yeah, when I was talking about reconstruction and deconstruction, the Bible stories, another good example. How you can deconstruct them, take away the literal aspect of it, and the David and Goliath story, for an example. How can you apply that to yourself as a black adept? Well, look at more of what the story represents, overcoming obstacles, right? You have this little, small, so-called character, little boy character, David, and this monster. That's all symbolic. You can use that to draw strength from, in the sense it's you overcoming obstacles and blockages. I could take that David and Goliath story and incorporate that in a road clearing ritual. That would be deconstruction and reconstruction. I'm deconstructing it by removing all the religion, the mythology, and the bullshit from it. And now I'm reconstructing it by putting black magical implements on it. Another good example, right? Okay, Yvette, this is a good question. What if your intent was sincere when trying to access your altar, but still nothing happened? See, even the very fact that you didn't see anything physical happen, it did happen. And let me explain. See, I think what's happening here is you're focusing so much on looking for something to happen, and that's drawing from your energy from actually seeing what's happening. Anytime you propagate and invoke your ancestors, whether you're getting a visual confirmation every time you do it, is irrelevant. You're still changing and altering the energy. Once you stop focusing on looking for something to happen is when it's going to start to happen. Now, if you've just started out doing it, it may not happen at first right out the gate. It might take some time. But I think subconsciously, whether you're aware of it or not, and I'm almost certain, you're focused on the ritual, waiting for something to happen when you're doing it. And all that energy is focused there, when you should always go into that clearing your mind. Don't try to dictate the outcome of when we're doing any type of work like that. If the mind is free flowing and clear, and you just engulf yourself in the experience and embrace it, then that's when you start to see things. Because when you don't do that, you put up that veil. You put up that layer of density in front of you where you can't see what's actually going on. So I think don't focus and concentrate on what you're not seeing or what's not happening. And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, but I would just kind of engulf yourself in the experience. But even if you're doing something and you didn't get no visual or physical confirmation, you have done something. You are altering and changing the energy. You are making a difference. It's just stop trying so hard to look, because when you're not looking for it and you're not focusing on it so hardly, intently, and it's distracting you from fueling the intent of what you're trying to actually accomplish, then you'll start seeing. Excuse me. All right. Trying to wrap this up. I'm going to get through all these questions. I'm almost there. Just want to make sure I got to all your comments. All right. Anarchy says, word, I feel like we are on the verge of a big technological advancement in our society with artificial intelligence and robotics and shit. Oh, yeah. This AI thing is big. They pumping commercials on this 24/7. I know everybody's seen that commercial with Common, right? They got this new technology now where they can go to like, which I think it's good and it's bad. I mean, somebody at work, we were having this discussion a few days ago. Somebody was asking about the thoughts on AI. Like, you can go to a lot of these historical sites, like you see on the commercial. They take billions of pictures of say a historical site, say ancient Egypt or some type of art or some type of archaeological landmark, and they can recreate it as if you're almost there. It's that thorough. So I think it has its advantages where it can create an experience, but it can also disconnect you from the authenticity of that experience. That's the danger of artificial intelligence. But it's a big thing. They're promoting it. It's big time now. Robotics, well, you're starting to see that, just even the basics of it. The downside to that is that's going to take a lot of people's jobs away, and it's already started, because you can go to a lot of these places. Just about every major retail place has a self-checkout spot. Those technically are robots. You understand? Yeah, they might have to have somebody to stand there in case it malfunctions, but you're going to start seeing shit like that. And look, they've been showing that to us in movies going back 20, 30 years ago, when they've been showing all these, what they called, science fiction movies, right? And as I said in the past, there's no such thing. Science and fiction don't go together. Science cannot be fiction. So that's a mind fuck in itself to say that this is a science fiction movie. That's to deceive you, because they want you to think the shit that they're showing you in that movie is not a reality, when you have to ask yourself, when you're watching a science fiction movie, a horror movie, or some crazy shit, you should ask yourself, who was the person that sat down and came up with this concept, and where did they get it from? They got the shit from somewhere. Now, if they created it themselves, that's a dangerous fucking person. And I don't say that just in a bad way. That's a powerful person. So this shit just doesn't fall out of nowhere. But that's the mind fuck they played on us when they came up with that genre. There's no such thing as science fiction. They don't go together. You understand? All right, what else we got? Yeah, 3D printing. That's another thing that's big. Mandy was earlier had typed in that could have been a reference to the Holy Death, Papa Legba, or some of the things we were talking about. You get what you want, and like she typed at the end, some aren't ready. And I always say, be careful for what you ask. You always hear it in the term, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. But the question is, like Sister Mandy typed in there, are you ready for it? Sometimes we're asking for things that we think we're ready for, and we're not. So that's all part of your intent. When you're doing your spiritual work, if your intent is clear, and I always said that, what protects you against all that type of shit, if your intent is sincere and it's clear, you usually don't run into that type of problem. But when you're not clear on what you're trying to do, or let's per se, you're one of those curious Georges I spoke about in the beginning of the video, that's usually where you get a little jacked up. So clear and sincere intent usually negates you from all that. And then another good point by Anarchy said, I found quite a few watered down ebooks compared to the same hard copy versions I have. I think they do that as a promotional marketing tool. I've also noticed that in some books too. I can attest to that, to some of the duplicates I have on ebook and hard copy. So yeah, that's true. Ismail El Bay types in a good comment. YG, give your ancestor Yvette Give your ancestor time to remember. The connection is new for them also. And that's an excellent point. And that's why I was saying, if you just started out and just take your time, it may not happen right out the gate. But that's kind of what I meant. And I'm glad Ismail El Bey put that out there. That's even a more detailed way to explain it. Also factor that in too. The connection is new for them too. And especially when you're starting in the beginning, they got to make sure that your vibration and frequency is like similar to theirs before they can make that connect. So that's another excellent point. Remember, it is a two-way street because you're also trying to connect with something and they're also trying to connect. But that's why I say when there's that veil and that density there because of certain things that might be going on in your psyche, you might be, making yourself so dense that they can't make that connection. And that's, again, starts to dissipate in time with discipline. Dark occultist typed, and that probably was earlier when we were talking about timing and planning of rituals. Strong energy during that time, timing is essential, no doubt. But like I also said, remember, if you can plan and time your rituals, they're definitely more powerful. But will there be times where you're forced to go to work because it's critical? It could be under any time. So a skilled adept can work under any of them conditions. But if you have the time to plan your rituals and time them, it's always better to do that if you can. But there will be sometimes you can't. But that is another good point. Shamanic Mystic 1 types in, can you work with spirits you used to work with from a past life, even if you don't have any bloodline ancestral ties to it in this one? Most definitely you can. You're going to find out. Now, remember we talked about, it's just been in over several videos over the last several weeks. Remember, when you're setting up your ancestral altar, you have bloodline ancestral spirits. I want to be clear on this. Bloodline ancestral spirits that are family members connected to you directly by blood, right? Then you also can, if it's past lives, or if it's just spirits that were connected to you in the past, you can connect to also ancestral. That would be considered an ancestral spirit, right? May not be a bloodline spirit, but it's connected to you either by blood or spirit, whether it's a past life or this life. Yes, you can definitely work with them. Now, the question is, how do you become aware? You become aware of that through the consistency of your work. Because for an example, if you start out working, and that's why I read from the Voodoo Hoodoo book and vampirism and the Black Chip book with demonic integration, with this book, ancestral acknowledgement is always at the core. So you're going to find when you work with it consistently, it starts to open up awareness on all levels. So when you start from day one, you're not going to be aware of all these spirit guides. Some will use that term too. You have spirit guides. It's the same thing. So when I'm saying ancestral spirits, that would be the same thing as saying a spirit guide that could be with you this life. I found, let me give an example. And again, not to get into personal shit because it's personal. I found out, and I've mentioned this briefly in the past, my quote unquote gladiator warrior spirit, this has been a spirit that's been with me in past lives. And that continues, you understand, to follow me. You become aware to that by a multitude of means. It could be at a ancestral Igun gathering where the spirit comes through. It could be in a personal meditation at your altar where you get a clear communication. And that's usually how it happens in personal work. You'll have some type of vision, some communication where you'll see the spirit and you'll get a clear communication, what implement to go out and set up. Like with mine, it was to get that, gladiator statue with the full armor, the gladiator sword, the tools and the implements that are associated with it, because that's what the spirit wanted. You understand? And all that comes through consistency and work and discipline. Because people ask, well, how can I find? Through some type of system of divination and some of the personal work that I do with people, it comes clear in their consultation. For an example, Brother Gene, again, not to put people's stuff out there, but I'm not going to say nothing that's personal. Like Brother Gene has a Arab spirit that came through strong and clear. You can find it out through that. You can find it again. There's been many people that have attended some type of Igun gathering where when the spirits come down, they come down and the communication comes clear to a particular individual. Like for an example, if you're at a Igun ancestral gather, I've seen this, experienced it myself a bunch of times and watched other people go through it, where those that are, in attending the ancestral gathering have the discipline of bringing the spirits down, and they'll walk up to somebody they've never seen them before, met them for the first time, and the spirit that works for them will have a communication for them and say, look, you're working with this spirit, this and that, etc. That's another aspect. So you can find out again through your personal work at your altar, which is the most powerful. And I'm telling you, that's the simplest way to connect with this energy is after you propagate them, whatever ritual you design and construct by propagating them, go into some type of quiet meditation, all right? And when you're in that quiet meditation, listen, right? When I say listen, listen with an attentive ear. It's a Masonic term, right? A true Mason listens with an attentive ear. The problem is, remember this, there's an old saying, no great prophet or sage ever received a revelation while they were talking, right? So sometimes we spend so much time talking about it that we're not becoming it. So when you're sitting, remember, you have to listen for that message or experience or that vision or whatever's going to come through. You can't do it if you're trying to overthink it or you're trying to overtalk it. But you will find a lot of those things in relation to that topic of, and it's a good question, of, ancestral spirits. That's how you get raised to the awareness of them. So there's a couple of different avenues, and I've seen it happen on all those levels, not just with myself, but with other people. I've witnessed it too. All right. Dark Occultist, Brother Ravana Noontide saying, like the title of this lecture, versatility is good on this path. I know type God was a spell check error. Yeah, and again, that's why I was saying in the beginning of the video why that's the title. You have to be versatile on this path, because if you're not versatile on this path, how are you going to master it? Because this path is not confined to one specific thing. And again, let me make this clear. If you came on late, it doesn't mean, again, throughout the course of a year, I'll say it again, throughout periods of your life where you're not going to gravitate more to one thing than another. Because there are going to be periods where you're going to be heavily into vampirism or Luciferianism or whatever. And then after that energy has been fed, then you're going to say, you know what? I feel like fucking with some voodoo right now. That's the versatility that we have on this path. As long as you maintain that, you're always going to grow. And that's why you always hear when things are being said in regards to challenging yourself on this path, never getting comfortable. You understand? That's the whole point. This path always keeps you sharp, always keeps you on your toes, and you're always finding new ways to challenge yourself. And that's what makes it different from any other path. When you're in any other spiritual system, I don't care what it is, Buddhism, Kemetic, it becomes, there's only so far you can go. It's like, okay, all right, now where do I go? Because it's not constantly evolving. And as we know, the basic law of metaphysics, anything that doesn't change dies. We know that. That's the basic law of metaphysics, right? Anarchy said in reference to the Mormons and the Jehovah's earlier, I used to ride around looking for, I did. Uncle Tom's, cool. They're racist, very, very racist. Yep. Warning good people, you've adopted the black thug victim mentality. Have no idea. Here's more suggestion to all the Latinos or blacks in America who don't like white people. Leave the country. Okay, so what we do to idiotic people like this is we just remove them from the room because we couldn't give a fuck about your dumb racist ass. And this is definitely not the room for you to be in. So that's what we do to ignorant ass people like you. And as I said before, look, this ain't for everybody. If this is not your thing, go find a Ku Klux Klan skidhead room where you can get your viewpoints across. See, the very fact that somebody would stay in here knowing that that's their mentality shows that stuff. We ain't talking about anything in regards to that, but it shows the fucking problems they got within themselves. But that's all we do is we just remove assholes like that. We don't have time to deal with that shit. If I would have saw it earlier, I would have took it out. But obviously, that's a person that's got issues with himself. You understand? You know, they can't deal with the fact of that there's versatility in this country. You know, the fact of the matter is there's blacks, Latinos, Asians, whites, because if we said to all white people, go back to where you came from, nobody would fucking be here. Okay, that's the reality. It's funny how none of us can say we are Native Americans to this country. Because if somebody said everybody go home to where the fuck you came from, the only ones that would be able to stay here would be the real Native Americans. Okay, so it's funny how these white racist motherfuckers think that because they're white and they're under this illusion that the founding fathers, we should say the fathers who built this country on death, destruction, and slavery, they feel like they are the original Americans. I find that shit hilarious. You understand? So what we say to that is fuck you and fuck you and fuck you more. That's what we say to that. But anyway, let's not even waste our time with that energy. What happened here? We skipped. Okay. Where were we at? Damn. Things skipped on me again. Bear with me, people. Damn, I didn't realize how long this shit was. Oh, I see Sister Sonia addressed his ass. Good for you, Sonia. You should have, hold on, did you text me? You should have texted me if I saw that fucker was in there. If anybody's got my cell and you're in this chat room and you see somebody type some shit in there, because if I don't get down to it, just bring it to my attention and I'll remove that shit immediately. I'll take that shit out of there immediately. Please do so, okay? Because we don't need that bullshit in here. If somebody go find a Ku Klux Klan skidhead room where you can have, you know, your white power brothers saluting you. But anyway. But yeah, in the future, somebody hit me up. If you got my text and you see some fool come in with that hate, you know, let's just take them out. And I see you saw it too, Anarchy. I'm glad you said something too. All right, what else we got? Okay, oh, this is where I left off. Okay. Oh, God. I guess he also typed in Jesus is Lord. Yeah, well, let's remove that bullshit too. Let's make sure we take this motherfucker. Out. Yeah, we don't deal with that bullshit. All right, what else we got here? In reference again earlier to the Mormons, Anarchy said, I used to love when they came to the door, they leave scratching their head. Sometimes nowadays I'm like, whatever, as long as they don't oppress others in any way. I agree. That's my approach now. I don't care what you are. It could be Mormon, Jehovah. I'm cool with it. Just don't force the shit on me. I mean, if that's your thing and it's making you happy, power to you. But when you form it on us, nah, we ain't fucking with that. All right, what else we got? Glad Anarchy's there confronted that retard. That's what we do. We just delete motherfuckers. That's what we do. Delete. Josh, right. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I saw the Jesus comment, Josh. I erased it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the thing I don't understand, how people are so fucking ignorant. Look, you see what we're talking about. You see what the channel is about. Why would you even waste your time and energy staying in here? Because what of that? Because it's somebody obviously that wasn't breastfed when they were a child. They ain't get enough of their mama's breast milk. They probably were drinking artificial stale milk. You understand? And you know, need attention. Go somewhere with that bullshit, man. Anyway. Anarchy's Ed tapes in. I mean, whites just rolled through and took over this place, bro. That's true. I don't have a problem with I have a problem with people's personalities and how they carry themselves. That 100% Anarchy's Ed. That's the key. I deal with people, your personality. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Latino. You're either a dick or you're not. That's all there is to it. If you're cool, I mean, I deal with all types of people, all walks of life, whether it's on the job, traveling, spiritually. If you cool, you cool. If you're on the same frequency and vibration, I could roll with you. If you're a dick, you're a dick. That's it. But unfortunately, some people, because they got little dicks and they weren't breastfed, feel the need, Usually when somebody's got that self-hate like that, it's really self-hate, but they exert it as external hate. They're usually dealing with some serious insecurities and some serious issues. That's all that shit is. Sonya got in that ass. Warning, how about you learn true American history before you open your mouth? There you go. Get in that ass, girl. That's what I'm talking about. I know he said I rolled in late. I had to catch. Yeah, you cats, you know, they always post, brother. Whenever you get time, no big deal. Daniel Sutherland, vertigo. There you go. That's what I was looking for. That I couldn't think of that term earlier. When it feels like you just stepped off the gravitron. That's true. And reference to what Brother Phil was talking about earlier. I was drawing a blank. That's what I was looking for. I couldn't get the word out. Vertigo. Yeah. Now you're talking about the smells. You know, that definitely is tapping into the spirit. That I know. Sometimes you get that sulfur smell or that definitely is when you get those weird, odd smells and a lot of stuff you describe in there, Anarchy Zed. I noticed that a lot with demonic integration work. You do get that strong sulfur gas smell sometimes. That's the best way I can describe it. I know everybody might have a different experience with it, but that most definitely is that. Anarchy's that typed in. I don't know if they visited the planet, but I'm sure there's be other life out in reference to extraterrestrials. Yes. Yeah. I'm not disputing the fact there is another intelligent life form in other planets. You gotta be a fool to think we're the only intelligent people here. But I ain't gonna get caught up in all that shit like you know, some people have, and it's become a religion. I hate to say it, but it has. Yeah, man. If David does need sleep, yeah. That sleep deprivation, man, that can create a lot. Reason why I was saying that, when I was referring to a video I did a while back on diet, exercise, and sleep deprivation can cause a lot of other illnesses in the body. And I'll be honest with you, I used to stay up constantly. And as recently as probably 8 months to 9 months ago is when I've now conditioned myself to get more sleep. I didn't really think I was doing anything bad, but I do feel the difference. I do see the difference. Not only can it age you, make you look older, it could also create a lot of physical ailments in the body. Fuck up the immune system. You tend to catch more colds quicker, get sick. You tend to get digestive problems because your strongest points of digestive, it tends to make your digestive process and organs work even harder. When you sleep, they tend to work a little bit easier. So there's a lot of things I didn't know. And I'll be honest with you, I was guilty of that about a year ago. So tell him, yeah, he needs to get him adequate amount of sleep. Don't get all, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of videos out there on Archetypes about higher intelligent life forms. You know, for example, building the pyramids, right? That's why I say, we'll look at these individuals as people just like us. It's not all extraterrestrials or grays and big-headed aliens. See, that's where I was trying to remove all that spooky shit, but yes. Yeah, and another comment he puts in there. They, of course, the timelines and the history that they're teaching in the schools are definitely not accurate. I am Shango. What's up, man? I don't know what time you came in, brother, but I think you came real late. Mandy typed in, I found you looking into power. I'm good. Thanks. Yeah, I know that's how you came across me with the power thing. But yeah, like I said, power, you know, it's not something you can just get up and say, I want to join power. That's not how it works. But I already addressed that. So let's see what we got. Daniel Sullivan said, won't even buy used spiritual books, lol. Just in case someone got weird with it. Hey, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Anarchy said, yeah, you never struck me as faking in front. The way you carry yourself, it's clearly genuine. That's all I can be is me. I don't know anybody else to be. And that's all we all can be is ourselves. When you're trying to be somebody you're not, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. And that's the problem with being part of groups and organizations. And I learned that the hard lesson belonging to groups and organizations in the past that had some fucking leader over it. Everybody was trying to spend more time being like the leader. And it creates a false sense of security. And one thing this path teaches you to be yourself. I have no desire to be anything or anybody but myself, and not really concerned with who likes it, loves it, or hates it. That's irrelevant. That's the other part of being, mastering this path, is you cannot really be concerned what other people think about you, because not everybody's going to like everything you do. Not everybody's going to hate everything you do. As long as you know why you're doing it, the purpose it serves, and what you're trying to accomplish. So you should never want to be anything or anybody but yourself, because that's the greatest thing you could be. Once you're focused on being yourself, you start to shed all those things that are making you dense. That's when the real ego starts to emerge, and the fake ego dissipates, because the fake ego is what craves being things it's not, trying to mimic something or somebody, or trying to copy something or somebody, or trying to strive and live your life desiring other shit that you know is not pertinent to your spiritual growth. And I'm not talking like don't be in the world. Of course, you want to have, I'm not talking about that. Be successful, have worldly things, have things you can enjoy. I'm just talking about chasing that illusion. And on this path, we strip ourselves of all those illusions. We ain't trying to be anything but who and what we are. And that's the beautiful thing about it. All right. What else we got? Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we do these things. I enjoy doing these sessions because I enjoy doing them. Like I said, the only thing I charge for is personal one-on-one time. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time to some people do, some people don't. I just don't have the time. So when it takes me away from other areas of making money, I have to compensate for it somewhere. But as I said earlier, I'm very reasonable in personal work I do on the side. I don't charge any large amounts of money, but this shit I love to do for free here. This I don't mind doing. This is just something I've been enjoying doing. Okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna skip down. Okay. So I would gather. So I see you had a little information, Anarchy said, on some of the. Gather as much information as you can and just go from there. That's a simple thing. And again, like you mentioned way earlier, always remember that no, you don't need to have to know. It's not mandatory to know every single little aspect of your family lineage. There's a lot of people out here that don't know much about their family history because of, like a scenario you described. You were, your parents split at an early age and you didn't know much. But you gather what you can and you go from that point. And remember, it's as simple in your invocation as saying, I acknowledge all of those ancestors that are connected to me by blood and spirit that I'm not aware of. That's it. That's bringing everybody into that grouping. And as time goes on and you keep working with it, you will start to become familiar with who they are. Trust me. All right. Yeah, Yvette confirmed what I was saying. Don't let nobody touch your head. Okay, what else we got? Witchy woman. So if they both passed in reference to your grandparents having connection to the Eastern Star and the Masonic Order, if you have anything of theirs, I don't know if you do or you don't, or if you don't have access to them now, maybe another family member does. If you say maybe your grandfather's fez or apron or your grandmother's sash or her head garb or any Masonic or Eastern Star implement, if you had, that would be a great thing to put on your ancestral altar in connection to them. Because through those initiations, they went through certain spiritual, quote unquote, occult things. So that would be a good energy connection from you to them on your ancestral altar. So yeah, I'm seeing all this shit with this DMT shit. I know a lot of people are doing that right now. You got to be careful with that, man. And for those that are familiar with the DMT drug, it kind of, there are some, you got to be careful of the effects of that. There are some, it kind of convinces the brain that it's in a death state, and then it puts one in these quote unquote, kind of like LSD. They have all these spiritual experiences, and this is just my opinion on it. I don't really fuck with none of it. Now, is it part of spirituality? Yes. There was hallucinogens used, the shamans, for an example. the Tibetan monks. Yes, a lot of this stuff has been used in certain cultures. I don't know about all this modern shit that these motherfuckers are using today. But I have seen recently in some spiritual circles that that's shit people, that's just not my thing. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I don't need to get to that. I don't need to do that to get to that, to activate what they call that DMT molecule, right? That's why people do it. They say it activates this DMT molecule, which connects you to the other side so you can connect with spirits, etc. And I get that. And if you do basic research on DMT, the drug itself, it tells you the properties, the hallucinogens in it, and how it activates that. I get all that. But if you are, again, a real master of this path here, there's many other simpler methods you can do to get to that state. So I can only speak for myself. I'm not knocking anybody that has or has not done it. It's just something I choose not to deal with. I have no interest. But I'm not going to judge anybody that does or does not. I just don't fuck with it. I know some people have had some heavy experiences with it, so that's why I won't knock it, because I don't have a lot of experience in it. So I don't want to be hypocritical and talk about something that I don't really have full experience in. I just have based my decision on now other things that are similar to it that I might have had a little experience with. It's just an interest that I don't really have a desire for. So I would say to an individual, as far as a reference to that, if you don't have any type of experience with it or something connected to it, the only way is either make the choice not to even fuck with it, or you would have to experience it to make that decision. Now, I know some people have messed with mushrooms and other hallucinogens that can create those, spiritual states, if you want to say. But again, I'd leave that up to the individual. I can only speak for myself. It's just something that I don't really choose to mess with. All right. Yeah, and I've noticed that too. It's like a fad. You got a bunch of people talking about it. It's actually been around. It's not even new. Yeah, Anarchy's had good point. They even have these vape pens now with DMT. I saw that too in the vape stores. Look, why I'm saying, you got to be careful, because is the shit that all these people are fucking with the real pure shit that say the shamans were using? I doubt it. So you got to be careful. I based that decision on, I don't think I need that to activate that molecule that links you into those spiritual experiences, because I can do that through greater black magic working. And it definitely can be done if you know what you're doing. So I don't need that. That's why I've made that decision. Not because out of fear, not because I'm scared. It's just I have no desire to do it, because of similar experiences with maybe something similar. Just that's basically what I can say on that. Now, again, somebody that has more experience, and I know Anarchy Zed had mentioned he has experiment with that. He might have more experience and may be able to speak a little bit more in depth on that. So I don't want to really speak in depth on something I have to be honest that I have not fully experienced. You understand? Yes, they are using it to treat medical conditions. Another good point. Yeah, and Phil, you're right. They do follow what's hot in the news on YouTube and social media. That's what society has become. That's what's dangerous about that type of artificial intelligence. Some people's world is an illusion because they have this virtual reality world. See, I try to use social media platforms for something productive like this, to just basically teach and educate, keep it simple. But now you got hip hop stars, entertainment. Everybody's a fucking YouTube megastar. How many of these fools you got on YouTube that think they're actually talented singers? It's fucking hilarious, man. YouTube can make a star out of anybody. Let me tell you that shit for now. But yeah, that's just the world we live in, man. I stay away from all that shit. Yeah, Anarchy Zed. So I would listen. Anarchy Zed's typing some good points in reference to the DMT, and as I said, he probably has more experience than I do, because he has some more direct personal experience with it, and I've heard him mention it before. I think he mentioned something similar in an earlier video. So maybe if anybody had my suggestion possibly on that, Maybe you can privately inbox Anarchy Zed if you want maybe even more personal information on that. He might be able to give you the do's and the don'ts and the have-nots. That would probably be a good suggestion. And as I said, everybody has some type of gift they can bring to the table. So that might be one he could help out in that area. No problem, Yvette. Sonia says, check out the movie Extinction on Netflix. And see, there's a good aspect of intent. Like I said, I never took it solely to get high. I was always have intent of having a personal experience. Well, there you go. At least you had some focused intent. Yeah, the self-checkouts, yep. Okay, so I wrote that one, Jack. Automation is going to be full effect by 2030, yep. Brother Phil, all right, we almost at the end here, people. Damn, I didn't know it was going to go this fucking long. Phil Tyson, God creates man, God, man kills God, man creates, machine kills. Yep, it's a cycle, man. Okay. Yeah, okay, I don't have cable. I do have a TV. Oh, shit, wow. Damn. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, what's on the dinner? Check this video again. Okay. I think that's it. All right. Jennifer Long typed in Kava Kava can also help you tap in. That's true. That's another thing you can use in reference to that. So we'll leave this last question with Anthony Wright, and I'll try to be brief on this. I might have kind of addressed this earlier, but I'll run it. Anthony Wright types, and understand that when work with energies and that these energies are with us. Could you talk about when you're doing ancestral work? You may hear a knock and the bump or like footsteps. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's one, it's personal. You probably, obviously, you're tapping into something on some level. So if you are propagating ancestors, you said certain ones by name, say, in your invocation. It could be one particular ancestor making themselves aware that they're present. Just giving you an idea. I can't say for sure it's that, but it's definitely something personal you're experiencing, and because of the energy and the frequency and the vibration of the ritual, you're tapping into something. So what I would do is when that's happening, whether you say within your mind or you say in a low audible voice, if you hear that, say, please step forward and can you identify yourself? Remember, you always have the power to command the spirit, whether you want it to stay, come forward, or whether you want it to leave. And as I said earlier, when I was talking about ones that come through that might not be, productive for you, you can simply just command them to depart. So you're always in control. You understand? So having said that, people, I think I had enough of this shit. I say that in a good way, not in a bad way, because we got a whole nother thing to do tomorrow. So I'm going to wrap this up. More than likely, we'll be back on Monday. That'll probably be the next one. Don't quote me on that. Not sure. Kind of just roll with the flow. But probably Monday evening, I'll be back. I will see some of you tomorrow, 3 p.m. We'll get it cracking. So anyway, hopefully this thing covered a wide aspect, and I think it answered a lot of questions from the emails, and hopefully it was helpful for some of you people. And again, if you see knuckleheads come in the room, what I could also do is I think I'm going to volunteer. If someone can be here, I can assign somebody as a moderator. So send me an email, somebody that's on the videos regularly. I can assign you as a moderator, or somebody before. What we can do is maybe not everybody's here all the time. I know like Mandy's here a lot, Sonia's here a lot, Jack. I can assign somebody a moderator, and once I click you as a moderator, you can block people. This way, I don't have to find them later down the road. Because if I would have saw that ignorance earlier, I would have exited out. So anybody, what I'll do is in the next time when the room fills up, I'll assign somebody as a moderator, and you can go ahead and that. All you got to do is click. If the 3 dots to the right, you can just remove them from the room or put them in timeout. But anyway, we'll do. I'll make sure I do that next time. If I forget, somebody remind me. All right. All right. Peace, love, bacon grease, pork grease, chicken, fried chicken wings, French fries. Peace out, man. We'll talk soon.